right. Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday edition of the Xbox 2 podcast. I am Randall419, the man with the million, the man who has not been hanging around or really doing anything this whole week other than hanging with family. So you guys are going to have to get me up to speed because, I'm kind of clueless on what's going around other than, the FTC trying to protect Sony, which I think is pretty apparent. But with me, as always, Jez Corden, the managing editor of Windows Central. What's up, buddy? How you been? How you doing, sir?
Hey, rock and roll. It's been a long week, and I think anyone who's been following the FTC drama would probably agree. Even if you're not working in it, the whole thing is just kind of been very, very tiring. But the light is at the end of the tunnel, potentially, at least, with this leg of the journey. And, if indeed the FTC blocks the deal next week, I think grants the injunction to delay the deal, i.e. meaning that Microsoft will probably miss its deadline to close the deal. Ooh, that's probably going to be the end of it. That might be the very end of all this drama that we've been dealing with.
It's a good thing that won't happen, though. It's a good thing that won't happen, It's a good thing the injunction won't be granted. You know what I mean?
We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see, Rand. I'm not as bullish as you.
Yeah, well,
I seen Florian out here, like Mr. Fox Patents, our buddy. He's out there saying it's a done deal, and I'm like, oh, I wouldn't put that kind of energy out there. But I don't know. I could be completely wrong. But a lot of people think it's a done deal because the FTC sure as hell made a fool of themselves. I mean, I don't think many people would disagree with that. But also, does the system work? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Well,
but that's pretty much all.
We don't need Jez's pessimism today. Well, I guess this is good because I'm of the exact opposite. Opinion about this. In fact, me and you have a bet about this.
We do have a bet.
So I know people are like, man, just so doesn't matter. I got your back, guys, because I'm optimistic about it. In fact, Jez was in my DMs being like, bro, she's gonna get the injunction, it's over. And I'm like, I'm like, you know what? I feel so. Like, look, I'm not going to tell...
Hang on, wasn't it my idea to have a bet?
Well, I don't know. It was my idea. Because you kept on DMing me, being like, it's over. And I'm just like, first off, if you really think that, let's put our money where our mouths is, right? Let's do a nice little bet. And I said, here's the bet.
I'm sure it was my idea.
It's $100, right? The $100 and all...
I bet with Joaquin as well.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's basically... If the injunction is granted, Jez wins. He gets $100 from me. But if the injunction is not granted and the judge sides with Microsoft in this case, then I win. It's simple as that. There's we didn't do anything about appeal or whether or not the deal would actually close. It's simply based around injunction. It's just simply based around that. So I was like, you know what? Let's. And I typically don't bet. I'm not a betting person. I never really have been.
That's how sure Rand is, guys.
It's not necessarily how sure I am, because I'm not going to sit here and essentially tell people, what is going to happen, because I'm not a lawyer, right?
You just said you're not a betting man, and you've just put $100.
Well, mainly because you're so otherworldly. Well, that's not the right word. You are so heavily pessimistic on this that I felt I had to at least be on the other side. And nothing I had seen from the court case indicated to me that it needed an injunction was going to need to be granted. But I mean, we need to get into everything eventually, right? But there's more. There's other stuff. So I'm going to thank you guys for being here. Sorry that there's a couple things here. I haven't really been doing much this whole week. Right, my brother's in town. My brother Ryan, with his wife Cheryl, and my nephews Oliver, who's 7, and Wesley, who's 3. So it's been hectic here. The nephews, all they want to do is just hang around with Uncle Matt. I'm Uncle Matt, and all they want to do is just play. And they want to play roller coaster, which is basically me while they're sitting in the chair and spin them around in a circle, right? They call that roller coaster, and they want to go super duper fast until, of course, one of them hurt themselves, and then crying starts, and then my brother comes down, and he's just like, no, like, mean father voice, right? Or when I play Monster or any of these other sort of games, it makes it incredibly difficult to keep up with what's going on, especially making videos, because I knew making videos would be a little bit, I wouldn't really be able to do it. And, podcasting, for X amount of hours would be virtually impossible, which is why we couldn't do it on Friday. Just couldn't do it. So today, they went up to visit family for the weekend in Wisconsin, so they're not here, which is why we're doing it today, which is unfortunate because I'd rather not do it on Saturday, and I'd rather not do it during, Gaz's show. But, them's the breaks, I suppose. I don't think we could skip this week because of everything that's going on. And we did discuss actually doing it on Monday, but that really wasn't a possibility either, right?
No.
So for me, it's kind of been one of those weeks where haven't really. I mean, I've kind of late at night I'd check some of the articles and stuff, but I haven't really gotten to play much. I know Liza P won the gameplay poll, but unfortunately I deleted it after last week, and I didn't know it was even part of the poll until I looked, and I just didn't have time to capture gameplay from it. So that's why we got Plague's Tale. So sorry about that. Hopefully we can do Xbox 2 Ultimate this week. But I mean,
I'll stream Liza P if we do Ultimate.
Yeah, so you know what? Let's get into the intro and housekeeping so we can get into all the juicy stuff. Jez, what do you say?
Yeah, sounds good. Shocking that anyone should be aware of this, but Rand, we've got a sponsor for the show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And do you know who the sponsor
Who is it? Who could it possibly be?
It's none other than Manscaped. And you know what's also awesome about Manscaped sponsoring today's show, Rand?
What?
Breaking news! Manscaped now has beard products.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
And I am personally very happy about this, because one of the first things I said to Manscaped when we got in contract with them, I was like, where are your beard products, guys? Well, they've answered the call. And now Manscaped's beard products are available to buy worldwide. 20% off with checkout code XB2. That's right. They are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with the brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind the Beard Hedger Pro Kit allows you to shape your signature beard look like never before. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to Make the drapes match the carpet by going to manscaped.com and using code XB2 for 20% off with free shipping. It all starts with the Beard Hedger. First off, this cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard. So no more messy drawers full of extra add-ons. Plus, it's waterproof, so you can shave in the shower to avoid all that hair in the sink. That's pretty awesome, actually. The titanium-coated T-blade is tough on hair but smooth on your face, leading to single-stroke efficiency. That brings satisfaction one stroke at a time. The Pro Kit doesn't just end there, though, Rand. Oh, no. They have 4 dermatologically tested formulations for your post-trim care. Beard balm, beard oil, beard shampoo, beard conditioner, and much more with checkout code XB2 at manscaped.com. And I actually have a package of the beard trimmer products right here, and I will report back next week on how they, match the drapes, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah,
which we don't want to hear about your drapes, Jez. I'm sorry.
Yes. Well, my drapes are very, very, very tidy, thanks to the fine folk at manscaped.com. But once again, thanks to them for sponsoring and powering the Xbox 2 podcast.
Right.
And I put a link in the chat, a link in the description to grab your 20% off all the juicy new beardy goodness products. But yes, Rand, that's the ad read. That's the sponsor for this week. And Rand, I believe you have some Patreon shout-outs.
Well, I mean, we're also powered by the wonderful people at patreon.com/XB2. So we got some shout-outs. We got Saucy Mods, James Wiseau, The Grandest of Bip, Chris Parney, Starsman, Hey Blinken, Army Dude 52C, Mr. Butterjeans, Ryan Kipple, Foreign Object, Mythic Marty, Moronic Donkey 99, Mockazilla, Randall Thor 19, Silas, Eric Gregory, Elijah Vasquez, James Moore, Halo is the franchise player, Katriox, Bright Chandra 1, Jasper Shapp, Hold the Line, Justin Duel, Frank Marino, PB Broking, Asa T and Madison, Untidy Tim, Grizzly Mofo, OG, Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Justin Sago, Andrew Courtney, Wagerman, Achievement, The Scarecrow 121, Darren Tropey, Prof JJJ, Butterball 8, Ghostface Killa, and Ralph Wiggum. Thank you guys thank you guys for supporting what we do on Patreon. Like I said, hopefully we can get the Ultimate Show this upcoming week. My family's still supposed to be here, so that might be a little hit or miss, but I think I should be able to get that done. It's just kind of been great, it's just one of those things where it's like, making content. There's a lot of videos I could have made. It was just I just wasn't able to, and I really wanted to do the podcast yesterday, but family comes first, right? And I don't know, it's just super cool because I don't really get to see my nephews that often, right? Because my brother lives over in Massachusetts with his wife, and I've only actually seen them. This is the third time. They came in 2020. Wesley at the time was like 1 year old, and Oliver was 4. And they came for my sister's wedding in this past year, December 2022. They stayed for a week, so this is like the third time, and they're here for like 2 weeks, and they're 7 and 3, and they have a very high opinion of me. They every time, because I'm a night owl and I stay up late, right? I stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning, reading books, watching shows, playing games, what have you. And I'm typically not a morning person, if anybody knows me. I am not up early. But they are. They're up early. They're up at 7 a.m., right? So I'll be sleeping, and at 7:30 a.m. my door opens, and one of them kind of comes in the room, and they're like, Uncle Matt. And I kind of pretend I don't hear them. And then my brother would be like, leave Uncle Matt alone. And then as soon as I do get up for the day, they'll be at the kitchen table or they'll be downstairs. They all run upstairs Uncle Matt's awake, and they give me a big hug, and then they want to play. They'll grab my hand and lead me down into the room to play with all their various assortments of, they're really into trains. So there's a lot of trains, a lot of train tracks, a lot of cars. And then they'll want me, we want to play Roblox, and then I gotta sit on the couch with them and watch them as they play Roblox, or as Wesley plays whatever he plays on his little blue tablet. It's super cute.
Roblox was in the news this week as well.
Yeah. I see lying crying Jim. He wants it on
He wants it on PlayStation, yeah.
Yeah, he does want it on PlayStation.
And they've changed the rules to accommodate Minecraft, because before they didn't. No, not Minecraft. Roblox. Before, PlayStation blocked Roblox on their platform because they thought it didn't do enough to protect kids. But they've relaxed the rules, so now they can have Roblox. I always wondered why it wasn't on PlayStation. I was like, did Microsoft drop some kind of deal there? But apparently not. It's just PlayStation wanting to protect the kids.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, is virtuous, because Roblox has been accused of, all kinds of things relating to that kind of stuff. So fair play to PlayStation there, to be honest.
Yeah. So my nephew Oliver really into YouTube, watching a lot of YouTube shorts. And I'm just and he knows Mr. Beast, right? I'm like, what do you think of Mr. Beast? He's like, I love Mr. Beast. And I'm like, who's your favorite YouTuber? He's like, Mr. Beast. He looked up. He's like, no, you're my favorite YouTuber, Uncle Matt. He realized that he said Mr. Beast was his favorite, and then immediately he got really startled and was like, no, you're my favorite. Which is cute. He wants to start making content, and he came downstairs when we were doing some stuff, and I was by my computer where I make my videos and stuff, and he was like, how do I upload to YouTube? It was so cute. I'm like, you just upload to YouTube. He's like, I want to make videos, but my parents won't let me have TikTok or whatever. And I'm like, oh well, maybe that's a smart decision not to have TikTok, right?
Yes.
I know, and it's he's 7, but obviously he knows who Mr. Beast is. And then one of the times like my brother went shopping, they brought home Prime, which is like the drink from Logan Paul and KSante, or KSI, not K. I said KSante.
KSante?
KSante. Yes.
Wow. He's got up in the world.
If you guys didn't know, KSI is KSante, and I was just like, really? I'm like, you like Prime? And he's like, oh yeah, I love Prime. Logan Paul and KSI. I'm like, oh man, he's 7 years old. And he knows all. And then so I tried some of Prime, and it's actually not bad. I'm not surprised. It says actually tastes decent. I was like, okay. So there's a whole bunch of Prime upstairs in the refrigerator right now and stuff, and I'm just like, oh god, Rand's become like chronically online standard YouTuber now. No, that's not me. That's not me whatsoever. That's them. But other than that, just hanging around with the family. How you been? What have you been up to?
Just working, man. I've been visiting family too, because I'm in England and I'm not always here, and so I'm going back to England probably in August now because I gotta have some doctor's appointments as well. So yeah, I've been trying to fit in a lot of family visits as well. But luckily, my team's been all over the FTC stuff, and I've just other than that, I've just been playing Diablo.
They are all over the FTC stuff, aren't they?
Yeah, my team has been absolutely.
Everybody is all over that stuff.
Yeah. But there's a lot to talk about with regards to that.
Yeah, but aren't you happy it's almost over, or at least seems to be almost over at least?
Yes, I am. I will be very happy when it's over. Either way, roll on. Let's move on. Let's buy Sega instead. How about that?
Buy Sega?
Well, we've got all that to talk about now.
Yeah,
Microsoft's shopping list, which is long as hell. We've got all that to talk about. But yeah, it's been an eventful week. I'm just kind of glad it's over. Really, really am glad this week's over.
Yeah, I know.
Let's cap it off.
Jez, you pretty much you hated all this stuff from the beginning. It's one of those things where for me I was just kind of it's always the dominant part of the conversation, but when it's the juicy stuff, then I'm interested. Like when we got Jim Ryan lying about stuff. Juicy. When you have like Xbox secrets being exposed, stuff that we would never ever hear about in a million years, then that's interesting. Outside of like, whether or not, the injunction, they get the injunction or they don't, hearing behind the scenes stuff is super interesting. Like I saw a lot of people being like, man, I thought Matt Booty wasn't the guy. But then people are like, dude, Matt Booty's got he wants it all. He's like he's super aggressive about stuff, and it's maybe Phil's the one playing Kumbaya, right? And it's just
honestly, they're all really competitive. Like all the Xbox people, they want to win, and they've had like one arm tied behind their back up until like Phil getting them promoted to the leadership table, and then COVID hit, slowed everything down. But like what we're seeing right now is Xbox's real competitive self, and that's the way they really are. So it's been very interesting. But do you have super chats that we can get through?
We have a few. We got Indrid Cold saying Elon is taking away the pony's favorite game, which is Twitter. Twitter not really working well for me today at all, which is why I didn't even really tweet about the show's live. Because I couldn't even read my timeline. It just wouldn't load. And I reached my daily limit or reached the refresh thing or what have you. And it was just like, and people call this dude like a business genius. Like
he's
what is going on?
Moron. He's an absolute moron. Like he's seriously gonna limit the amount that forget the user experience. Forget how it's affecting users. Think about the advertisers, the people who pay their money. Now, Elon's hiding their ads that they've paid for, so, if your whole platform's based on ads and you're limiting the visibility of those ads, what the hell is he thinking? He's the dude's.
Well, also, if you're paying Elon $8 a month, right, to get your check mark and to get better situated in the algorithm, what's the point of paying that money when nobody can read your tweets because people are, reached their limit? Like nobody could read your tweets. So what's the point of paying for it to get algorithm preference when people can't even read it, similar to the advertisers. Advertisers like, we're going to pay you money, you're going to advertise our products on Twitter, but if nobody sees it because they can't scroll their feed, it's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Is it really just a ploy to get people to pay more people to play $8 a month so they can have?
What's the point of playing $8 when no one can see your bloody tweets? The dude's just a moron. I think he's really paranoid about ChatGPT and AI reading tweets and using it to train their AI and stuff. He's really salty about ChatGPT because he was an investor and then he backed out because he didn't agree with the guy who runs it or something. So now he's like really salty and he's letting it affect his business decisions. The dude's just a plain moron. That's just no other way of saying it, but it is what it is. Rest in peace, Twitter. You won't be missed.
Yeah. So there is that. Mad Margan says, we have to acknowledge the huge effort the Xbox team has gone through to try to get this deal completed. Massive commitment. Yeah, it's been long. What is it now? 19 months? And it seems like we're coming up to the end here because, but here's the thing. Bobby Kotick took the stand, and he pretty much said if the injunction is granted that they're not going to renegotiate. But it's like, of course they would say that, though. Of course he would say that they're not going to renegotiate. Will they actually renegotiate if the injunction is given? I don't know, but of course you're going to want to present in court that, hey, if this thing happens, then we are walking, right? Because that's going to have to weigh on the mind of the judge when thinking about these things. Well, it's like, well, if I grant this injunction, I have testimony from ABK, from Bobby Kotick, that the deal's dead because they're not going to renegotiate, right? So it's
would that be perjury, though?
Well, no. The only way you would be able to prove that is if there was plans written somewhere that they were going to renegotiate anyways, and then you could prove that he lied at that point in time. Like,
so he could just be like, well, I'll change my mind.
Yeah, they could be like, well, they came to us on, the 17th and was like, want to renegotiate, and we asked the shareholders, and the shareholders decided, because that's ultimately, it's not Bobby's company to do with whatever he wants to do, right? He needs to do what's best for shareholders, but of course you're going to say that, because if you say, no, we need to renegotiate, like, the judge might be like, all right, well, then no problem granting the injunction because you can just do this in trial with the FTC. So I'm not really surprised by that. But yeah, a lot of, they clearly want this deal very badly, which is why they spent all this time on it, to the detriment of perhaps, Sega, Bungie, IO Interactive.
Ugh.
And a whole bunch of other ones like which is funny because Microsoft's entire shopping list of companies kind of came out. It was uploaded to the public as part of discovery in the documents. Confidential Microsoft information. Companies that Microsoft were looking at over the course of time, like hundreds of developers, bunch of publishers. You had like CD Projekt Red, and I don't have the list in front of me, but it was like virtually almost like every company that you could think of.
Yeah.
Microsoft was looking at, right? And
they're looking at a lot. I wouldn't say it was every company. It was very thoughtful, actually.
Sure.
It was companies that had they either owned like a specific piece of powerful IP, like Hello Games. They either had like a nostalgia library, like they were talking about Sega's back catalog, and so there was like a method to the madness. It wasn't just like we'll buy everyone. That's Embracer Group strategy, which is biting them in the ass right now. But yeah, there was a lot there. Thunderful, 11-bit.
But the thing is, I guarantee you, Sony has the same list somewhere. When you're a company like this and there's billions of dollars on the line, and you're trying to think about your future and what sort of things you want to do, and acquisitions are on the table, you're going to look at every possible company that fits your strategy and is potentially acquirable. You have Xbox had a whole bunch of studios that were on a list, and they broke them down, and it was like kind of 17 finalists essentially, Jez, was it? Like
something like that, yeah.
Where they had each individual breakdown of each studio, like IO Interactive. That's where we even got confirmation of your previous leak. that they're
my leak
working
was
on
confirmed.
Project Dragon, which we think was renamed to Project Fantasy, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Project Fantasy is Project Dragon. I think when it leaked, they changed the code name or something. Because a lot of these documents were from 2020 and 2021.
2021, yeah. These documents were from 2021, yeah.
Yeah, but oh yeah, yeah, there was a lot there. A Square Enix as well, which surprised me.
Well, not that surprising. I mean, I think everybody was on the table at some point. There was one that was fully redacted that we couldn't see. The funny thing about all this...
I bet that was Sony.
Yeah, I bet that was Sony. Is all that stuff was not redacted, and then like the next day they uploaded redacted because it was supposed to all be redacted. It was clearly a mistake by the court or whoever was supposed to do it. But now we all have all this information, and I do wonder could Microsoft sue somebody for that? You know, because like Sony also uploaded some documents and didn't really carefully edit out. They used Sharpie, and you could see what was underneath it. Like, oh, Last of Us Part 2 cost $220 million, or Horizon Forbidden West cost $200 million, which, man, AAA games are they're getting real expensive to make, huh?
They are, yeah, and taking a long time too. Like the risk on the AAA game is bigger than ever, which is, it's why people are like, why don't you grow your own studio? It's not easy to do. There's like a finite amount of devs out there that can actually make a AAA game for one thing, and for another thing, it's like you need those AAA games yesterday. Growing a studio is a pain in the ass. I mean, look at the Initiative. They pretty much bankrolled the hell out of that studio. They built it in Santa Monica, or nearby, to exploit the developer culture there. And they've had a nightmare of it. Sometimes you just can't throw money at a problem and create a culture out of nowhere. So sometimes when you're buying a studio, you're not just buying the IP, you're actually buying the studio's culture, which is not something you can, develop yourself overnight. But yeah, it was hugely embarrassing. I would have thought. And maybe Microsoft can sue someone, but whoever didn't redact this stuff really failed at their job, and it's like a capstone on the general farcical nature of the whole thing, But a lot of people have praised the judge though. Like the judge really seemed to take a really keen interest in, she knew a fair bit by herself, but then things she didn't know, she asked the right questions, I think, and she also she took a very neutral position, I would say. She called out the FTC when they were being dumb. She called out Microsoft when they were being dumb. So I think I would have thought, no matter what the outcome is, I would have thought or hoped that it was, overall fairly fair, But again, you don't know what's being said behind closed doors, man. You don't know who's shorting what stocks and who's threatening who, what, where, and when. You never know what conspiracy theories might be going on in the background, Rand. You never know, man. You never know in today's times, bro.
I mean, that's true. We have a Space Dovahkiin member for 26 months. Let's go. Beck's Xbox Pod on town. Love you guys. Hope you have a great weekend. Thank you for being here. Sith Lord, member for 5 months. The NASCAR Chicago street race this weekend. I was hoping to see you, Rand, at the track. I'll listen to the podcast later. Hope you have a good show. Yeah, did you know NASCAR's in Chicago, Jez? And they basically shut down a whole bunch of different streets, so the cars could go vroom, vroom, vroom on Lakeshore Drive. And there's a lot of people in Chicago.
Is that rare? Is that rare to have NASCAR in Chicago?
Yes. Dude, it's literally racing in the downtown streets of Chicago.
Oh.
Right? NASCAR. I know a lot of people that don't like this because there's a lot of streets shut down. So traffic was, obviously not very good.
Hopefully they're paying the city for all that, right?
I would imagine that's probably why they're doing it, but... Yeah, so that's going on right now in downtown Chicago. Elijah Vasquez, member for 10 months. Let's not forget, Jim Ryan literally lied under oath saying that he spoke to every publisher, and they all agree that Game Pass is bad. Also, happy 4th. You see, I don't necessarily think he perjured himself, because, I don't know, the whole Game Pass thing with Jim Ryan, here's my view of it, okay, Jez? This is what I think. because he said a bunch of stuff, but I'm just going to specifically focus on this quote, right? I'm sure we'll talk about more about, lying, crying, flying Jim Ryan later, right? But he said he talked to like all the publishers in the industry, and that they all unanimously dislike Game Pass because they view it as value destructive, right? And I've seen a lot of people like latch onto this, like, see, it's proof, blah 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 blah. And you've even seen some publishers and some developers come out in a counterattack and being like, we love Game Pass, right?
Yeah,
I
saw Wired doing it.
Wired did it.
I
think Behavior Interactive did it. I saw 11-Bit Studios just signed a deal with Game Pass to bring their games to the service, right? So there's a whole...
I think Paradox has signed a deal as well previously.
The question of, all of the publishers dislike it. This basically comes down to words and actions, right? Now, you can look at who's on Game Pass, and you can look at who's used it. EA's on Game Pass. Ubisoft's on Game Pass. 2K is on Game Pass here and there sometimes, right? Almost every major publisher. Square Enix has been on there at some point. Annapurna Annapurna, Devolver Digital. A lot of the publishers have used Game Pass. Some of them are using now. And I'm not necessarily even sure if he's talking about day one, because a lot of the publishers really don't do day one. Like, day ones are kind of reserved for Microsoft's own titles as well as for indie titles like Annapurna Games or Devolver Digital sometimes. Usually, your EAs or your Take-Twos or your Ubisoft, they don't come day one, and they never have.
No.
Even though EA and Ubisoft have their own subscription service where their games do go day 1 and 2. So this is, I think, a situation where I sort of feel like the publishers, they will say one thing, but then their actions prove something else.
Yeah.
Right? Where if I say, hey, you know what? I hate McDonald's, but then that night I go out there and order McDonald's.
Yeah.
What do you take more seriously? The fact that I said I don't like McDonald's, or the fact that I went out and actually got McDonald's?
Well, it's clearly the fact that you did get McDonald's,
yes.
But we also all know that you'd remove the salt from it and all the seasoning.
Well, that is true. My point is that actions always speak louder than words. So the publishers can say whatever they want to Jim, and then let's be honest, they also put their games on PlayStation Plus as well. But the publishers' actions tell me that they like Game Pass. And if they truly thought that, none of them would use it. Right? Yeah. EA's games wouldn't be on there. Ubisoft's games wouldn't be on there. 2K wouldn't use it. Like, they wouldn't use it. Now, maybe they believe it as, like, it's value destructive for day 1. And maybe that's something Jim Ryan left out. Like, oh, we dislike it for day 1. It's value destructive. That maybe possibly could be true. But then again, none of them really do it. So that is a possible interpretation, that Jim just sort of said that and didn't leave and just left out the day 1 part. But if you look at all the publishers that have used it, are using it, have praised it in the past, like Sega has gone on record saying how much they like Game Pass. Even the Yakuza devs are like, oh, it's brought a whole new audience. Right?
Well, Sega's one of the bigger publishers that does support it with day 1 releases.
Yeah.
Right?
So to me, it's like you have to look at what they said, but then more importantly, look at their actions. And their actions tell me that they like Game Pass and they like PlayStation Plus. And whatever problems Game Pass or PlayStation Plus have, value destructive wise, they're compensated for it. That's the other thing I don't know. People always kind of misconstrue is like, Xbox isn't forcing anybody to use Game Pass. They can't put, oh, we would love if, this game was in game. Like, no, they have to be compensated for it, right? So it's a negotiation. It takes 2 to tango. Microsoft could want all the games in the world on Game Pass, but if the other companies don't want it, they ain't going to go there. But they end up there, which says to me they like what they're getting. They're getting compensated. They like that compensation. They like, more people playing their games, potentially spending their money. So I think that was more, I wouldn't necessarily call it a lie, but I sort of think he's stretching the truth, because I don't think he said what the publishers really think. He's like, oh, they unanimously dislike it, and I think he's sort of left out for day one releases, right? But even that's not even true for unanimously, because there are some publishers out there that put their games day one on there. So it's one of those things.
Sega, Capcom.
Yeah. So
who else? Paradox.
Yeah. Annapurna, Devolver Digital, right? I don't know. It just
Carrion was there day one, right? No, Carrion wasn't.
I think it was there day one for Xbox. Indeed.
I can't remember. But yeah, I think that was one of his dumber comments, and something that was demonstrably provable to be incorrect. But it's kind of like when you're sowing a narrative, sometimes things can slip through that, you know, can get away with not needing any proof. So if like, you know, if the judge is convinced, a lot of Jim Ryan and other detractors, they want to create this narrative that, you know, it's value destructive. And you even heard Bobby Kotick was on the stand and he was talking about how, you know, I don't like Game Pass because
I believe him because Activision's games don't go to Game Pass. I 100% believe Bobby Kotick hated Game Pass. Absolutely.
Yeah. But he was saying like I don't like it because I'm from Los Angeles or something, and then he was like, yeah, I'm from Hollywood, and I've seen how Game Pass has affected not Game Pass. I've seen how streaming services has affected Hollywood and stuff, like all these billionaire mates, I guess is what he's referring to there. But it's kind of like, you know, you're creating that narrative that Game Pass is going to be damaging to the video game industry in the same way that Netflix has been damaging to Hollywood, or that Spotify has been damaging to the music industry. And I've written about this extensively, and it's just not fair to compare them, because Game Pass is a curated system, and it has royalties on top of that upfront fee, you know. So like Game Pass can bankroll an indie dev in a way that Spotify would never bankroll an indie musician, or that Netflix would never bankroll an indie, you know, publishing house. You know, that all works on a sort of, you know, royalty basis, especially in the case of Spotify. So like, there's this boogeyman where it's like, oh, streaming service is bad, mainly because of Spotify, you know, and because of how Spotify pays artists pennies and has no curation whatsoever. Literally every song in existence is on Spotify, and you basically, artists rely on going viral on TikTok to actually get any money through Spotify. You have to go viral on a social media platform off Spotify to make money on Spotify, which is very, very strange, but that's the business model. And I think like that's where they're extrapolating some of that stuff from. So like if they can get through to the judge that sort of, you know, oh, Game Pass is bad, going to be bad for the industry. Maybe the judge will be like, oh God, maybe I need to be noble and save video gaming from becoming Spotify or the music industry or something. You have no idea what kind of biases or sympathies she might have internally that will make her make a decision, which is why like I'm like very, very 50-50 on it, you know. And I know I say that I don't think it's go through. A lot of that's pessimism, but I'm definitely
all
like,
of it's pessimism.
Well, honestly, no. Like, it's literally just a case of she's a human being,
sure,
and she's not perfect.
Sure.
And even if Microsoft had a perfect case, which arguably they don't, you know, and argued their case really well, and even if there wasn't like these emails like from Matt Booty saying stuff like, "Oh, we want to put Sony out of business," or whatever he said. You know, hyperbole.
Spend Sony out of business.
Spend Sony out of business, he said. Even if it wasn't for any of these stuff, and Microsoft presented a completely perfect case, you have no idea what's going on ahead. You have no idea what's going on behind closed doors. You know, and this is why I would never be sort of like, oh yeah, it's definitely going through. Like I've seen some people online saying it's definitely going to go through. I think that's really irresponsible. I think that's really, really irresponsible.
Is it as responsible as saying it's definitely going to be blocked though?
Well, no, because that's just for fun.
That's just for fun?
Yeah, because no one's if it gets blocked, nobody's going to be disappointed.
Oh, what do you mean?
If it doesn't get blocked,
how can you say how can you go out there and say that it's wrong for someone to say that it's absolutely going through, but then not say the same?
Because you create disappointment then.
Well, and if you go out there and saying it's going to be blocked, you're not creating disappointment either?
Well, if it doesn't get blocked, no one will remember what I said.
Yeah,
if it does get blocked, they'll remember the people who hyped it up saying it wasn't going to get blocked.
Sure. I think some of this is just PTSD from the CMA shit, because everybody thought that. Yes, I think some of it. Look, I think
PTSD from Brexit,
humans have this
PTSD from Windows.
No, humans have this. They always look for patterns in certain things, right? And they like, everybody was like, oh my God, the CMA, they got rid of the console theory, and everybody thought that it was a done deal, right? I remember Christopher Dring from GameIndustry.biz, after the console theory got thrown out in the UK, he was like, well, Sony's gonna have to come to the table soon. It's pretty much over. Even Benji Sales was like, oh, it's done deal. Everybody was like, it's over. And then the CMA blocked on cloud gaming, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, how could this happen?" Like the entire Xbox Air Discord couldn't believe it. I got blamed for it because I was always someone who was like, "Don't count your chickens before they hatch." Right? But you had other people being like, zero concessions, blah, 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 blah. Right?
That's all
but here's
I'm
the
saying.
thing. But my point is that now we're in the similar situation about an injunction, right? Where it's a judge's decision and you've had this hearing instead of a activist group who clearly wanted to block the deal no matter what. No matter what, for whatever reasons, they were going to block it, and they did block it. Here you have a judge who's looking at the law, looking at all these sort of different arguments and different things, and the FTC has to fulfill, I think they have to nail the market definitions, they got to prove like immediate harm, they got to do some other things where they have to nail these sort of situations. But people, being human beings, they always try to draw patterns in between things that there are no patterns. So people are like, oh my God, I got burnt once before with the CMA thing, could get burned again. And so I'm not gonna, it's just, it's to me, look, I don't know what's going to happen, right? Nobody really knows what's going to. The only one who knows what's going to happen is the judge, and she's got to think things over, right? I'm not going to tell you that it's going to get blocked. I'm not going to tell you for sure it's going to pass, because I don't know. I will say where I'm leaning. Jez is leaning basically towards it being blocked because, well, you don't know what the woman's thinking and blah, 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 and I've been hurt before, etc., etc., etc.
I am hard 50-50.
Okay, you're hard 50-50, but you're leaning more towards it being blocked. I'm
just saying, don't
sure
count your chickens, bro. That's all.
And there are people counting their chickens, but I also think a lot of it has to do with, look what happened with the CMA. We all thought it was going to happen, and well, I thought for sure it was a done deal, and now I think it's for sure a done deal, but maybe it won't be.
I totally get that, but that's exactly what I'm saying to you, is that if the judge recognizes a pattern and she's like sympathetic towards the value destruction argument,
I don't
or any
think
of the
that's
arguments
the case.
for any kind of reason.
The only argument that he sort of seemed clued in on, or at least had some sort of trepidation on, was cloud gaming. And they didn't even really talk about cloud gaming at all for the most part, because the FTC's entire argument wasn't even really about consumers. The FTC's entire argument was about PlayStation and how PlayStation would be harmed, to the point when during the closing arguments, when the FTC lawyers said about Sony, and the judge was like, I'm going to cut you off there. We're not here to protect Sony. We're here to protect consumers. Which was a huge holy shit moment, because finally somebody said it, because the FTC's entire case was about how this would harm PlayStation, this would harm this, PlayStation would be harmed by this, oh my God, PlayStation, this and that. They mentioned Sony and PlayStation way more than they ever mentioned consumers, right?
Yeah.
It honestly seemed, as an outsider listening in on that stuff, that the FTC was basically trying to defend PlayStation the entire time. Like, that was their reason for existing. And I think, everybody sort of was like, oh man, the FTC, they really presented the wrong arguments, or they didn't really seem clued in on the industry and how it really works and all that stuff. And I think I said this to, I think I even said this last week, or maybe I said it to somebody else. To me, their arguments and everything seemed, it sort of felt the reason they weren't prepared was because they never thought it was going to get to this point. They thought their stalling tactics and the CMA blocking it would force Microsoft to abandon the deal. And they never really had any intentions to come up with a better set of arguments than the ones that they had. And when it was pretty clear that Microsoft wasn't going to take no for an answer, and that we were going to close this stuff, forcing this whole situation to happen, that they were caught flat-footed with all these, I'm going to say, horrible arguments about why. I mean, think about it. At the very end of the closing arguments, she even said, like, okay, she even mentioned, like, okay, what about immediate harm? Like, who's harmed immediately by this, right? Because Call of Duty's not, she even said, like, well, Call of Duty's not going anywhere. Call of Duty's still coming out in this November, right? So where's the immediate harm, right? Call of Duty's not even on any streaming services. And the lead counsel for the FTC says, Your Honor, the harm starts immediately. And she's like, when? To PlayStation. And it's like, oh, what do you mean? Well, because we heard testimony from Jim Ryan that Sony will stop sharing secrets about their new console to Activision. And that starts immediately, Your Honor. Immediately when the councils, when the parties merge. Immediate. That was the first thing he said about, like, the first thing he thought of that would be harmed if they merged was how Sony wouldn't be able to share secrets of the PlayStation 6, a console that's not due out for essentially 5 more years. That's the first thing that came to his mind, because there literally are no other arguments. You couldn't come up with another one. It's not like the game's joining. It's not like the game's joining Game Pass. It's not like the game's being taken away from cloud gaming. It's not like there isn't going to be Call of Duty on PlayStation. It was literally, oh, they might not be able to share their future plans of their future console with Activision. And at that point, it's like, okay, but that's Sony's decision not to share that information with Activision. So didn't
Microsoft's counsel even say that or something?
Yeah, they essentially said that, right? So, bro, I'm telling you, like, look, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know where this is going to go. But just listening through the closing arguments and how FTC was trying to make their claims, and even the judge was learning. The judge was like, well, what about PC, right? Like, couldn't they just play Call of Duty on PC? And it was like, oh my God. Or like, wait a minute, if Call of Duty is on Game Pass, wouldn't that incentivize PlayStation to actually make PlayStation Plus better? And people were like, holy shit, she actually understands. She actually understands what people have been saying for a while, that, like, this is competition. If Call of Duty was on Game Pass, maybe that would actually incentivize PlayStation to make PlayStation Plus a better deal. And then they even brought up the point of, like, well, let's just say Call of Duty was removed. Wouldn't that incentivize PlayStation to make a Call of Duty competitor? And it's like, oh my God. Oh my God, what? Oh, really? And, like, these sort of things, I don't know. Maybe it's because we don't really think that, like, these judges or these lawyers really know that much about the industry, but it sounded like everything that she was, that all these arguments she was listening to, she kind of understand some of, like, the benefits that this might actually have, not only to competition but to consumers. So,
well, Microsoft was trying hard throughout to sort of explain, look, hits can come out of nowhere.
Exactly.
Like indie Among Us, Minecraft, all solo or small teams, Vampire Survivors, goddamn, what else? There's one of the top selling games on Steam right now is a first person shooter. I think is it called BattleBit? It's made by like 4 people or something. And that's one of the top selling games on Steam right now. So it's kind of like all these points that Call of Duty is necessary was just like kind of undone over the course of the trial.
Yes. The whole trial was about Call of Duty, essentially.
Yeah, and it is just farcical how this is like American tax dollars basically fighting for Sony. That's basically what it is. It's just a farce, you know.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's even able to get to this point is just sort of a case for pessimism, I think, because it just shows that how could this even get to this point that like the people in power just don't get it. Like I have to wonder what is the FTC's true mentality here?
True,
Because like
their true mentality is to block the deal because big tech bad, and Microsoft is big tech. That's it. That's all it is.
but
that's why their arguments are so weak, because the arguments against the merger are essentially one in principle. It's like, we don't want them to get bigger, right? I mean, it's that's essentially it. I mean, yeah, you could read some of the Matt Booty emails and they're like, oh, well, you want to spend them out of business, but I don't think anybody rightfully thinks Microsoft buying Bethesda and Activision Blizzard and then actually keeping Call of Duty on PlayStation for 10 years would actually cause PlayStation to leave the business. Like, nobody believes that. Even the judge mentioned how Kotick started Activision with basically nothing, and Call of Duty kind of like struck lightning from nowhere, insinuating that like somebody else could do this. Or how like the game's like Hogwarts Legacy was one of the most popular games this past year because there are so many different hits every single year and so many different
Fortnite
things.
Basically did that too,
right?
Like, Fortnite was originally a very average tower defense game that pivoted very hard and fast into a trend and struck gold, you know. And now Fortnite's one of the biggest games in the world, and it's like any game or any studio has the opportunity, has the ability to find that sort of lightning in a bottle moment. And to suggest that Call of Duty is just going to be infinite and going to be around forever, I think it's just silly. It's arguably already in decline, and people buy it year in year out because they're sort of ritualized to do so. But you know, Call of Duty is not going to be forever. Like today's kids, they ain't growing up on Call of Duty. They're growing up on Roblox. They're growing up on Fortnite. You know, it's sort of our generation still who's all in Call of Duty every year, year in, year out. I was talking to my old friend from school recently, and he was just like, you know, he's got 3 kids, and he works a lot, and he doesn't get that much time to play. But every year he buys Call of Duty, and every year he buys FIFA. You know, it's just FIFA and Call of Duty are those kind of embedded cultural games that sort of they're almost like a generational kind of game. You know, that sort of exist outside the sort of the some of the bubble that we live in. Like, my friend had never heard of Starfield, for example. Buys Call of Duty every year, buys FIFA every year, never heard of Starfield, you know. And even though he's got an Xbox, and you know, there's probably Starfield's pop-ups on the dashboard, like, he just, you don't look at any of that stuff. He just boots straight into Call of Duty. And there are millions of people who do that. Millions of people treat Call of Duty like that sort of, you know, it's almost like, you know, Coca-Cola, you know. You go to a store and you don't know what to buy. You reach for Coca-Cola. Everyone knows what Coca-Cola Coca-Cola tastes like. You know, it's kind of like Call of Duty is the Coca-Cola, you know, of the gaming industry. And but it won't be forever. You know, the event, because kids are growing up right now with something else. They're growing up with completely different paradigms, completely different market cycles. Like, you tell a kid they've got to pay like $80 to play Call of Duty, or $70 or wherever it is now. They'll just be like, why would I play that? I can just play the free version, Warzone, or just play Fortnite, or just play Genshin Impact, or any of these other free games, you know? So I just hope that some of this stuff sort of gets meted out, and that the judge actually understands it and believes it. And
I think it was an absolute mistake for them to focus so much of the trial around Call of Duty and around Sony like it was, when considering every other regulator, including the CMA and the European Commission, threw away the console harm. They were like, no, nothing's here. Even, like, a lot of people with that Matt Booty email think it is a smoking gun. Like, see, look how evil Microsoft is. They were going to spend Sony out of business. Even though, like, the whole Matt Booty's email is like, hey, a different view of the general view is we should spend, like, he's basically saying, like, this is my personal view. This is different than, you know, what we are doing. He's saying we should be doing this when he knows that they aren't actually going to be doing this, right? about how they should essentially spend all this money and lose $2 to $3 billion because it'll put them in this unique position. And it's an email that was in discovery where the CMA and all these other regulators saw it, but everybody was like, oh, this is new information. Like, they were lied to. It's like, you guys, no, like, this is old news. It's like, yeah, we got it unredacted because of what's going on here. But, like, come on, this isn't like that. It's not the smoking gun people like to present it as at all. No. It just is one person's viewpoint within the company when the company's actually... Now, you could... Okay, I will say, yes, spending $77 billion on acquisitions is a lot of money, right? Significantly more than Sony is going to spend. But I also kind of look at it as like, that's how far behind Xbox was from PlayStation. They were so far behind PlayStation because of what happened in 2013 and how they torpedoed the brand and how basically the budgets were reduced. I forget who was the head, Phil's boss during that period. Who was the Windows boss at the time? Terry Myerson throttled the division while Sony was on this huge upswing, releasing games like God of War and Spider-Man and Horizon Forbidden West. Like, they were just dominating. And Xbox was floundering, even though they essentially sold, like, eventually 60 million Xboxes, and that's how we got Game Pass and all that stuff. But that's how far behind Xbox is from PlayStation. About $77 billion and 2 whole freaking publishers. But as even the judge pointed out, like, the industry is super dynamic. There's a whole bunch of different publishers with a whole bunch of different games. And what is popular one year may not be popular the next year. Right? That's what makes the industry so unique. So even by buying Bethesda and buying Activision Blizzard, Sony's good. Even Jim Ryan says they're good. You don't need to listen to anybody else. Jim Ryan basically was talking like the other guy Jim Ryan was talking about in his Chris Deering in his emails. Chris Deering was making fun of Xbox. Was making fun of them. He's like, they should have announced an electric car. That they overpaid for Activision Blizzard. And Jim's like, yeah, I agree. Like, I don't want it to happen. Too. Yeah, I don't want that to happen. But it, like, we'll be okay. We'll be more than okay, right? Yeah. Like, there's a little bit of breakdown a little bit later, but let me get to a couple more of these super chats. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you all. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. We're almost at 96,000, which is pretty incredible. Hopefully, I can get back to making the regular content again because I feel like we'll know the decision soon, Jez. Even though it's we won't know what was said until July 12th, I believe is when the public stuff will be uploaded. I think our decision's probably coming sometime next week after the July 5th. And they'll be told. So you'll be able to see what happens between the FTC and between Xbox. If the FTC suddenly comes out and is like, we got one, like the Ghostbusters theme music starts hitting, you'll know that the injunction was granted, right? If Lena Khan or the FTC really starts saber rattling about how they're here to protect, you know what I mean? But then there's Xbox, and clearly, I mean, look, we don't know what they truly think, but judging from what was said, they want to close the deal by the 18th. So we may wake up one day with a Newswire blog that says welcoming the teams of Activision Blizzard to Xbox because maybe they closed the deal, right? And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if the injunction is going to get granted. I don't know what's going to happen with the CMA because they still all got that stuff. You see how the CMA got slapped down by Cat, right? Repeatedly. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think we will know whether or not the injunction was granted sometime next week. We just won't know what was said by the judge until July 12th. So, we have True Iron Leg saying, first time ever doing a super chat. Wow. Jez, don't worry, my country is way dumber because they saw the whole thing as anti-competitive.
Which country is that?
I don't know. It's a good question. It says, I think it's Canadian.
Canada?
I think it's Canada.
Yeah, I thought that was funny because Canada responded to I can't remember which Microsoft staffer said it, but one of Microsoft staffers said that every other regulator so far has approved the deal, and then the Canadian regulator released a statement saying, "Oh, actually, we said we found significant harm," and then Microsoft shot back with, "Well, you guys didn't issue any recommendations, so that's as good as deciding against litigating against the deal, you know." Which I thought was quite a funny exchange, but that's an aside. It all comes down to this court case. I think Microsoft will close around the CMA in the UK. Like, who gives a crap what the UK thinks about anything anymore? And I think the CMA can be dealt with in a number of ways. There have been big companies that have just ignored the CMA decision and just soaked the fines. I think that they could just do that. Microsoft can easily afford to pay those fines. But there's also, like, you know, the CAT tribunal that could side in Microsoft's favor as well. They could get the government involved. They already have been. The government needs every scrap of help it can get right now. There's a lot of things Microsoft can do to sort things out with the CMA. But like this sort of legal sort of, I don't know what you call it, quagmire with the FTC. But if they do get this injunction blocked,
but this scenario is exactly what Microsoft wanted, though. They wanted this. They wanted the judge to hear this.
Yeah.
Right? And even the judge called out the FTC for stalling. She even called out and be like, "Listen, the timetable is short. You know, you guys waited 6 months. You guys stalled." I mean, she called them out on that, right? Because that's what it was. It was one of those tactics where, you know, they were basically going to try to run the clock out. Yeah. Not like because they actually have any really good arguments against it. It's really just we can't allow deals this huge. We can't allow Microsoft, right, to become a monopoly. And they talk like that when it's just like, bro, it's Xbox. What are you talking about? Like, this is Xbox. They're continuously, like, how many gens have we been? 4 gens, and they're in last place in 3 of them. And the only reason they were, like, anywhere near first in the 360 gen was because of how badly the PlayStation screwed up. Like, look how much presented, like, Xbox is like, oh man, like, our numbers, you know, it looks like the Xbox Series X and S may have only sold like 21 million or 22 million or whatever, and they've admitted that the Series X stock was, like, as you had reported on the podcast, was affected by, they decided to put some of it in cloud. Is that the best decision? I don't know.
No.
Probably not, because they even admitted that the cloud is essentially nothing. That most people that use it are console gamers who decide to try out a game before they actually decide to download it. So
I've seen evidence that the cloud team is being shrunk as well, and rediverted to devices like your boy Asus ROG Ally. So, you know, I think even Microsoft's kind of realizing now the economics on cloud don't really work. I mean, they might work for Nvidia, who manufacture their own servers, but for Microsoft, who has to buy all those chips and also make strategic decisions about how much harm they're going to be doing to console while doing that investment, I don't think the economics work for them. And I think they're starting to realize that. And I think that admission in the trial was indicative of some of the things I've been hearing, that there's not a lot of optimism about where cloud could go, but that's a completely other topic. Another time.
I mean, cloud was, I always kind of look at cloud as 5-10 years down the road, and even Jim said cloud won't even be a thing till 2025, 2026, if even, and who knows. You know, that's where the CMA and the European, you know, Commission were like, we got some current concerns about cloud, which they didn't talk really much about this at this case, and I don't know if that was the right choice, because when I think about, like, what the judge is going to think about, I think she's just going to, you know, all the stuff presented by the FTC. And personally, I think she'll just come to the conclusion that the arguments weren't very sound and that she's not going to issue an injunction over it. She even mentioned how there's a trial set for August, almost to kind of be like, well, I'm not going to issue the injunction because you still have this trial to go in August potentially, right? So my line is, what I'm thinking is that the injunction she won't grant it. And that one day we'll just either hear sources here, that the deal's going to close or something. Because I don't know how this is all going to be played out, right? It's a judge, so she's going to have to make her decision. And then she's going to have to tell both parties. And is that when we'll start hearing about leaks? Where, will Bloomberg suddenly report, hey, sources tell us that the judge is leaning towards blocking the deal or approving the deal, or will one day we'll just wake up and be like, deal's over and it's blocked and the FTC is declaring victory, or you know what, she didn't grant the injunction and voila, Xbox now owns Activision Blizzard. It'd be very interesting how this all comes across. I personally think she's not going to grant the injunction. I mean, listening to the closing arguments of some of the stuff, I don't think the FTC presented a good case whatsoever. I think a lot of people are just being very tepid about it, and they're trying to protect their feelings, and they don't want to get excited, and they're kind of just being like, well, we were excited, and look what happened. Because nobody knows. I mean, you could be Foss Patents, and you could have a background in all this stuff, and he's saying, there's no chance it'll happen. But then, Foss said that also about the CMA, right? Even when we interviewed him, there's he had faith in them, and it was clear after that, it was well, they were going to block it anyways. And then there's some people that will tell you this is getting blocked for sure. I don't know what's going to happen. I personally had a bet with Jez that mainly because he said it's not going to happen, so I wanted to take the opposite approach. So I will kind of be shocked if the injunction is granted, though, because I just don't think the FTC had a good case whatsoever at all, period. Their whole case was basically, to me, I don't know, it would feel like she granted the injunction based around Sony, protecting Sony, because that was what the FTC was essentially arguing the entire time. Well, and then how Call of Duty is this super important game, because that's the other thing they were arguing.
Yeah. Well, how about this, Rand? Put it in the chat, and I'll put it on Spotify as well on the voting thing. Right. I can only put polls onto Spotify. Do you think the deal will go through? Do you think? Well,
I can't put those. I'm just gonna say, do you think the judge will grant the
injunction? But also add 50-50 as an option. 50-50 is an option too.
Yes. The deal
but add 50-50 as an option too.
Will be blocked. And then no. Xbox ABK will be coming home with Xbox.
Do 50-50 as well.
Okay.
Because that's where I am. I'm at 50-50 because all logic, truly, all logic would suggest that this deal will go through, or the injunction will not be granted, and then Microsoft will close. All logic suggests that. However, we don't live in logical times. We do not live in logical times, Rand. And the conspiracy theorist in me refuses to accept that this is a 100% done deal. We live in confusing times, Rand. We live in the post-truth era, bro. But anyway,
we'll see. We have let's see, what else we got here? We got Sin Vendetta, our buddy Rand Jez. Happy Saturday. I hope you both had a great holiday weekend. Also, I'm on Rand's side here. I'm 99.9% sure the injunction will not be granted. I'll be shocked if it is. And the one and only Everborn Saga. Xbox wants to buy Sega confirmed. # home of Sonic. Well, Everborn. It's not that they want. It's they wanted. Past tense. Just like Sega in the past. Right? Xbox was Xbox essentially had a list, as we mentioned, and they wanted Sega. And Sega made a lot of sense before ABK. And you can even make the argument Sega still makes a lot of sense, right? Legacy IP, PC IP, PC developers, right?
Football Manager.
Japanese presence with Atlas and Yakuza and all that sort of stuff. It makes a lot
Developers
of sense.
for Age of Empires.
To to the point where Phil actually went for CEO approval to approach them. Now, it did come out that Sega was like flattered that they were the targets of acquisition because their stock price went up to the highest point it's been since, I believe it was like 2007. But they were amazing. like, no, like, we're not interested in being acquired right now, which is exactly what you would need to say. Like, no, not right now.
That's exactly what Bungie said too.
But the interesting thing about the Sega acquisition, Jez, so they had all this stuff. Phil really wanted it, felt it would be great for Game Pass, felt great for PC, great for console, all that sort of stuff. Ticks all the boxes. And it does, right? Until ABK came along, and it was kind of like, well, ABK ticks way more of the boxes and is way bigger. But let's focus on Sega, because even if the ABK deal goes through, and they have Bethesda and they have ABK, I can still see them going after Sega because I still think it fills a niche, right? I still think there's some things you can say, but like, yeah, Sega would be a good addition. What also came out in those documents was that they were going to run Sega. Sega would basically report to Matt Booty, but Sega would essentially run themselves, and that they would run them as a multi-platform company. That they wouldn't actually remove any of the games from any platform.
Which supports Microsoft's arguments. So one of the big issues of contention with this whole thing has been this idea of foreclosure, that Xbox could foreclose or degrade the experience of PlayStation gamers using their power over ABK. But the only element of foreclosure that we've seen so far is Sony foreclosing itself by refusing to share dev kits, and Microsoft's already said, like, the reason we don't, and this is something I've speculated about, the reason we don't have Minecraft for PlayStation 5 is because Sony won't give us dev kits. Rand, do you think the reason we don't have ray tracing for Xbox is because of some kind of parity clause?
Yes. I would not be shocked. Bro, they had it running and they immediately got rid of it. What does that tell you?
I need to find that out, because that has to be the reason why Minecraft on Xbox is so underdeveloped. And it has to be some kind of parity clause. And like, one of the things that Microsoft also revealed was that Minecraft on Nintendo Switch makes orders of magnitude more money than Minecraft on Xbox, which is unsurprising, right? Mm-hmm. So if Sony's saying to you, you cannot make the Minecraft version on Xbox better, because if you do, we'll remove it from PlayStation or something. And Microsoft's like, well, we make most of our money on PlayStation and Nintendo. It doesn't make financial sense. Then that is Sony using its dominance, using its market share to foreclose Xbox on its own game. So, there's just none of these arguments stack up when it comes down to real scrutiny. And I do wonder if some of this stuff is actually buried in the redacted files somewhere. But I'm going to try and find out about that, because I'm pretty sure that is probably the case. But anyway, that's a little tangent for you when we're talking about Sega. I agree with you, though. I think they should buy Sega. Absolutely, definitely should buy Sega. I think I'd rather, because Square Enix was another one. I would rather they bought Square Enix, personally, because I like Square Enix's games more overall. And I also think Square Enix has way more potential, because they've got the Final Fantasy brand. They've already got a lot of established mobile games. They've got gacha games, which is what Microsoft's going to need. If the Microsoft wants to grow to that massive audience, the billions, they need an answer to Genshin Impact. Now, could Sega make that? Possibly they could make that. Could you imagine like a Persona spin-off that has sort of a Genshin kind of gameplay style? Like Star Rail as well is turn-based. They could potentially do that. And Sega has done this sort of... They've got this massive deal with Microsoft on something they codename Super Game, right?
Yeah,
do you remember this, Rand?
Yes. Yeah.
So Sega's codename Super Game is being developed with Microsoft and Microsoft Azure. So they are very tight and closely knit. But like, they need a Japanese presence. Square Enix would be my preference. Capcom would also be my preference.
Yeah, mine too.
I do like Sega, but they need Sega or Square Enix like for that mobile presence and that potential. Like Sega ticks so many boxes, man. You get all the nostalgia, you get all the classics, you get Sonic for God's sake, which is probably the most mismanaged IP in history. And and also you get like you get a dev team for Age of Empires, which they don't really fully have right now. Like Sega's already making Age of Empires for Microsoft, so yeah, it ticks a lot of boxes. But
yeah, but there's still the
I don't
Sammy
know, man.
part of the Sega business, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
That was the other thing. I don't know. I still think even after ABK, Sega still makes a lot of sense as for a publisher. It's interesting that they would run it multi-platform because that's totally the opposite of what they decided with Bethesda, right? And it sort of seems like Pete Hines is a little salty about that. Did you kind of get that from him a little bit? That Pete Hines is a little salty about being exclusive? I kind of got that sense from him.
No. I think people are misreading that. I think
really
people were reading that like, oh, he's salty about being exclusive. I think he was just salty that he didn't have he was literally talking about in the interviews. He was saying like, you didn't tell us about this, and now we don't have a response when people ask us in interviews, and they were going into the interviews. I think he was just literally salty because Microsoft blindsided them, and he was the head of communications at the time, and they didn't have any PR prepped for that question coming up. So I don't think he was salty about things being exclusive, and they even said like it's nicer. They even said it's nicer to develop for a single platform. So I don't believe that. I'd need to hear him say yeah we were salty and clarify that. But personally I don't believe that. I don't think he was salty about that.
Okay, I mean
I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
It is email, and it's hard to get context of all that stuff. To me, I read it was like, what makes them so special that they can be multi-platform when Starfield and our games are going to only be on Xbox?
Yeah. Like, I mean, it could be either way. I read it like it was a PR thing. We want a PR response because they sort of when they do interviews, they train them on every possible question, and that could come up, and they have like prepared PR responses for a lot of this stuff and a lot of these talking points. And Microsoft just blindsided them with that stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah, I could be completely off base, but we won't know for sure without them clarifying it.
Yeah, Sin Vendetta says also, since we now know what's coming out this fall, what are both of your top 4's most anticipated games coming out this fall? Mine are Starfield, Lies of P, Lords of the Fallen, and City Skylines 2. Jez, what are yours?
My top 5 is that?
Top 4.
Top 4. Well, Starfield's right there at the top.
Yeah.
And is this for the rest of the year?
Rest of the year. Yep. Coming out this fall.
Rest of the year. City Skylines 2, definitely high up on that list. I thought that looked incredible. I know it's not Rand's cup of tea. There's a game that. Oh man, never mind. Can't talk about that. I need to look at a list. I think I'm quite excited for Armored Core. Actually,
yeah, Armored Core.
I've looked at some of the videos for that. I'm tentatively excited for Lies of P as well, but I'm also kind of like, am I in the mood yet to go back to on my Souls-likes kick? Another game that, speaking of Souls-likes, I suppose I'm gonna stick this as my number 4, Blasphemous 2, because that's coming out relatively soon, I think. Did you ever play the original Blasphemous?
I did not. I have not played that. No.
It's kind of like it's Souls-like-esque. It's kind of like Hollow Knight, where it's like a Metroidvania that's got some Souls-like DNA. It's not. I wouldn't call it particularly as hard as like, like a classic Souls-like. But man, the art is just incredible. If Blasphemous had come out in the 90s on like the Mega Drive or something, it would be hailed as one of the greatest games of that era. I think it's so damn good. The art is so good. So yeah, I'm gonna put Blasphemous in there as my indie pick. But there's a lot of games, man. There is a lot of games. Like I've already seen a lot of people saying that 2023 is one of like the best years in gaming we've had, like for such a long time.
It's fantastic.
It's been a fantastic year. Yeah, it really.
I mean, for me, it would be Alan Wake 2, Starfield, Spider-Man 2, And I mean, there's a whole bunch of other games I'm interested in, like Atlas Fallen and Immortals of Avrium, and like Jasant. I'm gonna say probably my fourth, Oxenfree 2, just to pick like an indie title. I'm really.
Are you gonna play that on Netflix?
No, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play it on my PlayStation. It's on
Netflix,
it's on every platform except for Xbox.
And that, my friends, is foreclosure.
Partial foreclosure, because they even brought up how Sony partially foreclosed the Xbox with Final Fantasy VI. Remember, they said 6. It's like 16, and Beth Wilkinson was even like, it's named 16 for a reason, right? Or even leaking the date for Elder Scrolls 16 as like 2026. Which, do we really believe that's the actual date for Elder Scrolls 6? You think 2026?
I believe it, bro.
You think they're really going to get Starfield out this year and then launch Elder Scrolls 6 in 3 years? Doubtful.
Yeah, I believe we'll have Fallout before then too, man.
No,
I'm an optimistic guy sometimes.
Yeah, but not when it comes to this for whatever reason. Whatever reason,
man.
which you actually replied to Foss Patents and you said the deals that she's going to grant the injunction. Did he ever reply to you?
No, he's I think he's tired of my bullshit. But what did I say to him? I mean, I kind of kidding around. I was saying short Activision stock. By the way, not a financial investor, advisor, and all this kind of stuff. I was kind of having some fun with it. But I will say, like, and I do like Florian a lot, and he's amazing at what he does. But I did reply at one point. I said I really, really would caution against telling everyone the deal's going to go through, because if it doesn't, people are going to come for you. Bro.
Yeah, well, I mean that's when you plant your flag on something and you go hard on it. Yeah. You're either going to look like a genius or you're going to look like a fool. Right?
That's why I'm sticking in my 50-50 lane right now.
I'm sticking in the 50-50 lane. And
I mean, he'd know better than me. Like,
would he? I mean, you would think so, but
But he seems very invested in the deal.
There just seems to be a lot of people that are positioning their flags to try to be like, see, I told you so. See, I was right. Whether or not it goes through, and whether it gets blocked, where they can come out and be like, I knew it. And it's like, shut up. You don't know shit.
Yeah.
Like, you can listen to what the judge says, but you don't know what the judge is thinking.
No.
Like, everybody always says, don't read in too much about what the judge says or what, how she says it or who, she's speaking to, so we'll see.
I think Florian's just incredulous that, that some of the arguments that are being put out there are allowed to be made, and that they're all in such bad faith. I think like his legal sense is like, how are they getting away with this?
Bro, I literally saw somebody.
He's incredulous.
I literally saw somebody on Twitter who was like, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything about this. But here are some of my thoughts, and it was literally like 50,000 words. Like, dude wrote a novel. But he prefaced it by saying he didn't know what he was talking about, and he didn't know what, the FTC has to prove for an injunction. But here's what I think. And it's like, bro, you're literally just let it off by saying, don't listen to me because I don't know, I'm clueless. Right? Yeah, there's some very interesting there's some interesting facts and interesting secrets and interesting things that came out of this. And yeah, you can look at like what the FTC was arguing heavily for and what they didn't argue heavily, right? And how Xbox and their defense lawyers defended things and what they tried to push, what they tried to push against, right? But I don't know, it's kind of one of those things where when you start off something by saying, I don't know anything about this, but here's a 50,000 word thesis about it all, why I think the way I do. It's like, bro, just tell me you have no clue, okay? I mean, seriously.
Bro, if people who didn't have a clue stop using social media, there'd be no social media.
Well, I mean, Elon's going to make that, stop that for us anyways, regardless.
Yeah, good old Elon.
Yeah. Imagine if YouTube was like, hey, to stop all the traffic on YouTube, you can make a video but only say 600 words and then it automatically stops.
Or you can only watch 3
Yeah.
videos a day.
You can only watch 3 videos a day, or only
And if
600
you
people
pay,
can
you
watch
can
one of
watch
your
6.
videos. Yeah, like imagine that.
Yeah. Oh my god. What a
Uh,
genius. What a genius.
FaZe Dank Dodge says maybe it's pessimism, but I think the PI will be happen. Okay. Wagerman, he says, happy to catch you guys live. Whatever way the decision goes, I feel good about the future. What genre type of game is missing from the future lineup?
Genre type game.
Horror.
Well, yeah, there's a first party horror, I guess.
Yeah.
So like Evil Within would be the answer to that. But you've also got Project Mara, I suppose, in development. I think like Microsoft clearly has an interest in horror because that they often some of the games that they pay for Game Pass are often horror. And I think their mentality is horror works pretty well on Game Pass because people, they can try it and without feeling like, oh, I can try this, and if I'm too scared of it, I don't have to play it. But like before, it was kind of like with the horror game, it was like, well, do I really want to spend $70 and then be too scared to play it? I'm sure that's a barrier to entry for a lot of people, but Game Pass eliminates that barrier. So again, Game Pass being goated right there. But yeah, horror would be one. I would have thought like another one they're kind of lacking is people always ask me about the superhero game stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing people always ask me about is where's Microsoft's answer to Spider-Man? And I think it's kind of fair, but at the same time, I'm not a big fan of superhero stuff. But if they did have, I mean, a lot of people are saying Indiana Jones is going to be that, right? I disagree. I don't think Indiana Jones really has the prestige that Spider-Man has.
I don't think anybody's arguing that, though.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's arguing that either. But
it will be a game that has more appeal, or at least the brand of Indiana Jones has more appeal than maybe some of your other typical stuff. But yeah, not on the level of Spider-Man. That's
what IP would you grab for a superhero game? Just quickly,
Batman. I mean, yeah.
I suppose they're not doing too much with it right now.
I mean, you'd probably want to go. I mean, I don't know. Disney also seems like they are handing out licenses to stuff quite easily. And whether it's Star Wars or whether it's some Marvel stuff, maybe you could go get a Marvel game. Maybe like, hey, they already give Insomniac Wolverine and Spider-Man. Maybe you could go in there and get X-Men. Maybe you can go in there and get Fantastic Four. Maybe you can go in there and get Black Panther, right? But if, DC, the Wonder Woman game, we don't know how Monolith's going to do with that. But, I mean, I always kind of just view, the Justice League game would be, could you imagine if you could... It kind of blows my mind that Rocksteady not making a Justice League game where it's like you can play as Superman, as Wonder Woman, as Green Lantern, as the Flash, as Batman. I mean, talk about a holy grail of a video game, right? If I was Xbox, I'd be like, okay, what's available? I mean, Batman's huge. It'd be like Batman or Justice League. But if it was Marvel, Doctor Strange, you could make Doctor Strange. I mean, there's so many options you could potentially choose from.
A lot of people in chat saying Deadpool. I think
Deadpool. I mean, yeah, Deadpool's been a video game before. It could.
Has it really? No.
Yeah, Activision made a Deadpool game. Yep.
Which studio made it? Do you remember?
I forget what studio, but it was during the, I want to say Xbox One gen, because I played it. I think it's delisted because they obviously lost the contracts for him.
Yeah.
Just like the Marvel versus Marvel, the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games, like 1 and 2 that used to be on the Xbox 360, and then they got Xbox One, and I think they got delisted again, and they made like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 for the Switch as a Switch exclusive.
Yeah.
So they're willing to do business. So yeah, I don't know.
There's a lot of options.
I mean, you could like horror. I think is missing, and maybe you can even point to family games. Like, where's Banjo for the Banjo Bros?
Yeah, the 25th anniversary came and went. No, Banjo.
I thought that was supposed to be in October.
Is it October?
I don't know. I don't know.
Am I getting it mixed up with the 25th anniversary of Hell in a Cell?
I mean, the 25th anniversary for Hell in the Cell just happened. Yeah.
Yeah, they might have. Um, oh man, the Hell in a Cell was so sick.
Yeah. So I mean, those would be the two: horror and family. Chinook guy
Fine
says,
game.
with my limited amount of views, I saw some guys say that Elon broke part of the API and needed to lie about it. I don't know about that, but
I mean, I wouldn't put it past him.
maybe it's possible. Space. 61 days to go and explore the space. Hashtag Starfield. Yeah, we're getting close.
Are
Andre.
you hyped? Are you feeling the hype?
I mean, I felt the hype after that Starfield Direct for sure.
I'm
know?
like, one thing I've seen a lot of people say is like, and I'm kind of feeling this too. I'm feeling that like old school hype, like from my
What do you mean?
early,
What define
early 20s, early 20s.
Like, is that what you
360
mean by old
gen.
school? Like early jazz, younger jazz?
Yeah, like
Because you're
I'm
older
still-
now.
I'm
You're like
still-
55, right?
Yeah, something like that. But like I'm older now, jaded, don't really get that hype for games, you know, and I just, you know, not like I used to, you know, but before back when, you know, in your 20s when you've still got a bit of optimism in your life, you know.
But
like,
you don't have any optimism anymore?
Yeah, like you know, no optimism for the future at least. But anyway, and but like I've seen this on the subreddit. There was a huge discussion about it, and people saying, "I feel that old school hype. Feels like I'm, you know, waiting for Skyrim to come out again, or Fallout 3, or Fallout 4." And I'm starting to feel that about Starfield, man. It's like it's cutting through all the pessimism and all the cynicism, and I'm just like, this game is gonna whisk me away to another world where I don't have to feel this way anymore.
Are you? It's gonna be one of
That's
those
kinda
days
depressing.
when you get that review copy, preferably
Yes.
early August, and you just sit there and you're like, it is finally here.
It's funny.
And then you'll DM me and like be like, ha ha, I got it, and you didn't. And I'll be like, no.
No, I don't know if I'm getting the review code, but if I do, I will be reviewing it in earnest. I'm gonna try and do a video as well for this one. I think I don't do video reviews often, but I think this is at least one game that kind of deserves to have a video review. I'm even gonna split my review for this into sections if they do let me review it.
And further and further getting down the path of never finishing Persona 5.
Well,
Once you
grabbed me till the end of the year, bro.
I know, but once you got Starfield, bro, you ain't going back to Persona. I'm sorry. I only have to wait until then because I know you're not gonna. You got Diablo and you're spending all your time in Diablo getting destroyed by the Butcher, right? I saw your videos, right? Level 70.
I beat the Butcher.
I know, I saw, but I'm just saying you're playing all this time with Diablo. And soon enough, Starfield will be here, and then you'll be spending all your time with Starfield, and you're going to be like, should I play Persona? And you're going to realize you don't really care what I think, and you don't really care that people say, hey, you don't finish games, because you're going to finish Starfield, and you finish these games that you're reviewing now. So, yeah, once Starfield gets here...
I'm going to finish Persona by the end of the year. Don't you worry.
I'm not worried about it.
Don't you worry.
It's not like we have anything writing on it. There's not like... with this injunction
It's
thing.
honor.
It's not honor.
It's honor, Rand. It's honor. It's my honor.
See, if we had made a monetary bet, I bet you would have tried. If I would have been like, I bet you $200 you don't finish it, I bet you would have did whatever it took to win.
Do it then.
No, because it's more a friendly thing. This, you know, and it's funny, guys. When originally when I told Jez, let's bet about the injunction, and I was like, $100, you win if she grants the injunction, I win if she doesn't. Jez didn't take that bet initially. I'm like, oh, so you don't feel that strongly about it, huh? You won't even take this little bet. I thought it's a done deal. And then eventually he was just like, all right, I'll take it. And I sort of think he takes it because if he loses, it's fine because he gets what he wants, even if he owes me $100. You know, because that's like, all right, well, it's not that bad. Right, where if it loses and Jez it's like, God damn it, but at least I have $100 now extra, right?
Well, yeah.
How much money would you have gone up to? Would you gone up to $500?
Oh no.
Where's that limit where like you feel really good? Like I think this is
definitely the limit.
The 100's the limit. So if I would have been like $500,
I ain't that confident that it won't go through.
Oh, I'm
told you I'm 50-50, but I just got this cynicism that's just like the system doesn't work, man. The system doesn't work. The judge is short in the shares, or her husband's short in the shares, and she's just like she's hyping everyone up to think that it won't go through, and then she's gonna drop that hammer and then cash in.
Mm.
You know?
See, Frank F says if you finish Starfield, you're doing it wrong. Well, I will finish Starfield because there's too many games to play, bro. There's too many.
You won't. You won't finish Starfield because to finish Starfield, you have to go to every single planet, bro.
Well, no, that's not true.
Yeah, it is. It's true. You have to complete every single planet.
No, that's not happening. I'm just saying, like, there's look.
You're not going to do side quests and stuff.
No, I will. I'm just saying. There's going to be a point where I'm done with Starfield. I finished the main story. I've done all the exploring that I want. Maybe I have all the achievements. And it's time to go play others. It's why I stopped playing Diablo. It's like, I wanted to play Final Fantasy 16. Because if I'm just constantly playing Diablo, I'm not playing other games. And you know me. Diablo, and Jez, though. You know me. You call me the trendy gamer, right? For whatever dumb freaking reason. So there's
you only play trending games.
There's all these games that are coming out, and I want to play them, and I even have other games in my backlog I want to play. I can't be stuck hundreds and hundreds of hours of playing one other game when I want to play Alan Wake 2. I want to play, Spider-Man 2. I want to play Atlas Fallen. I want to play Immortals of Abraham. I want to play Oxenfree 2. I want to play... I mean, I need to look at a list of all the other games. I mean, part of me wants to play Crew 3. I want to play the new Prince of Persia game. Right, I want to play the new Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed comes out literally the day before,
or the week. Armored Core, bro.
Armored Core, that's another game that comes out. Armored Core comes out like literally
August,
a couple days before the early access of Starfield. Like,
does it?
Yeah, I think Armored Core is like the 26th. I think Armored Core is either the 20. Chat, what's Armored Core? Is Armored Core the 24th or the 26th? I'm not. I think it's the 20... Armored Core 6, I think, is the 26th.
That is spooky as hell, man. They should move that launch date. I saw that Baldur's Gate moved their launch date a month forward.
Yeah, on PC.
To accommodate Starfield.
And on the same day on PlayStation as Starfield. Yeah. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 does look really, really interesting, though. 170 hours of cinematics. Right? Oh, so people in the chat are saying that Armored Core comes out August 26th. Or 25th at night. Yeah, so that's like, what, 5 days before Starfield? Would you be done with... I'm just saying, there are so many games to play that are so close to one another, and I want to play a lot of them, that I'm just like, bro, And the way I play my games is I play like one game at a time. Right? So, like, I would be playing Starfield, and I would play it and 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 play it until I feel like, all right, well, I've got enough out of this, and then there's all these other games I want to play. Like, yeah, there's just so many games this year, bro, and it's already been an amazing year. Like, seriously.
Yes.
It's great. It's fantastic, And there's some indie titles I'm really looking forward to playing. Cocoon, which just got a release date, that's coming at the end of September. I mean, Liza P looks like interesting. Maybe, I don't even know. Will I be done with Starfield by then? Jasant, I think, looks super cool. Hopefully, Replace still comes out this year. We don't know anything about that, but...
Dude, I don't know how you remember all these games. I have to refer to a list.
I mean, I'm trying to picture the list right now in my head of October, and I know I'm failing, but it was like...
Right?
It was like Forza, like, on the 10th, and then Assassin's Creed on the 12th, and then Lords of the Fallen.
Assassin's Creed Mirage is this year?
Yeah, Assassin's Creed Mirage is October 12th. And then October 17th is Alan Wake. And then October 20th is Spider-Man 2. And then for people who like to Switch, Super Mario Wonder is on the 20th.
I'm all over that.
Alone in the Dark is the 25th. Lords of the Fallen is the 12th, the same day as Assassin's Creed. And not to mention, like, the November games, which, Call of Duty will be in there at some point, and I'm sure there'll be other games, but... Like, September, October is literally packed. My wallet is going to be crying. It's going to be absolutely crying.
My typing hands are going to be crying from all the reviews.
And Andre says, thanks for the mention in the Sega acquisition article, Jez. As a big fan, I was truly honored.
Oh, well, thank you very much for sending me the information, because people on Twitter, you guys like tipping me off and stuff. Sometimes I miss things.
Jez comes to me and be like,
"Bro,
bro, I need your help." And I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "Starfield on disc." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Could you get me all the information?" And I'm like, "Really, Jez?" I'm like, "Really?"
No, I was like, "Where did you see that?" That's all.
I was like, their Twitter and their page, because that was the other thing that happened, was people started to get really upset. What do you mean Starfield's not going to have a disc? Right? And it was a similar situation to Redfall, where the support page wasn't updated properly, and then it was like, well, yeah, of course it's going to have a disc. And even Gamefly was out there being like, we only rent games that have discs. And they had like the picture of Starfield that they're renting out. So it's like, yeah, Starfield's going to have a disc, but everyone's just like, oh, these support pages. And there must, I don't know how they get all wrong about all this stuff, but yeah, Starfield has a disc.
Yeah,
if you have the console version, you get a disc with your purchase. I don't know how much of the game's going to be on that disc. It could be a Halo Infinite situation where there's not much on the disc and you got to download everything, because clearly, probably most of the game is not going to be on that disc if the game's as big as we think it could be. And the collector's editions, they have like the digital code embedded. So if you want your disc, you do have your choice of getting one, right?
I often wonder about this. Like, a Blu-ray is just too small for modern games now. Are we gonna have to be forced to move to digital or some other new medium?
I'm already all digital anyways, bro. I don't care.
Yeah, I know you don't care.
I mean, like, as much as I love MVG, every time he complains about this stuff, I'm literally like, it's an old man yelling at the cloud. The Simpsons meme. He's very much for physical ownership and very much for anti-DRM, and I just like, bro, I feel you, but like, I'm all digital, baby. I don't care. Get your disc out of my face,
I'm all digital too, but I also I do kind of feel like having physical is a good thing.
It's not a bad thing. Sure, yeah. There's options. Options are always a good thing, but look where the market's moving. Right, Matt Piscatella talks about it. You got to look where the market's trending. The trend is trending towards digital. It's like both Sony and Microsoft this gen put out a system that doesn't, come with the disk drive. The writing's on the wall, which is one of the things why it was so weird when Xbox tried to force it with the Xbox One gen. When if they just kept everything the same,
just waited,
it would have went that way anyways. Yeah. And they wouldn't have ruined their reputation and the whole brand and set the brand back as far as it did. But hey, executives are going to executive, right? Yeah. But the digital shift, the digital shift happened in everything else. It happened in streaming, happened in music. Convenience always wins. I don't know why people thought it wouldn't win in gaming. Maybe because the purchase price was a lot higher. But that's where Game Pass comes in handy, baby. Because for a low price of $10 a month, actually, for the low because now you got to update that. For the low price of $10.99 a month, you too can access over 100 games a month with Xbox Game Pass or what have you, whatever the new price is.
The greatest deal in gaming.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. Maybe by 2030, there ain't that many discs left. We have a big
trip. That makes me sad.
It's kind of like the end of an era, but you look at it, you even have a game, Alan Wake 2. No physical edition. That is a big AAA game that probably cost a lot of money. Granted, it is public by Epic, and they probably have a vested interest in people going digital because they're a PC platform.
Oh, yeah.
But PC's digital anyways. But this is like the first salvo. Alan Wake 2 is a huge game, and it's digital only. So it's only a matter of time before then, seeing how successful that game might be. Maybe if it's not successful, they'll blame there was no physical version, and maybe they're like, okay, well, we still need to do physical or something. But you're taking a chance, in a day and age where the games are $70. They're like, hey, we're going to remain at 60, but because of that, we're going to be digital only. Is that a payoff that people are willing to accept? I don't know.
That's true.
But
it's funny, Rand, because a few months ago, I want to say, I think it was a few months ago, I tweeted that there was no, because I always rail on this narrative that the UK physical charts are a good way to measure success in a game. because that's
did you mean to say aren't a good way to measure success?
Yeah, I argue against that point.
Right. You just said the opposite, though. You said that they are. Or no, are you saying they...
I said that I argue
yeah.
against people who say that.
Right. Okay,
but anyway,
yes.
Yeah. I argue against people who say that because I think you can't do that. You can't account for the fact that the most of the games just aren't available. Most of the data isn't available because it's all digital and all that kind of stuff, right? So, and then I tweeted something like, there's nowhere in my town where you can even buy physical discs anymore, right? And then some people trolled me and they were like, oh, yeah, there is. Game, because Game shut down in my town, right? And I didn't know that Game had moved into another store called Sports Direct upstairs, right? So to buy games in the UK now, you have to go into a Sports Direct with all the athletes and then go upstairs and find the game shop hiding away. And yeah, some of the big supermarkets also sell games, but the Sports Direct in my high street is no longer there. So officially now, there is nowhere in my town's high street to buy video games. Literally nowhere. The nearest place is like a supermarket, not on the high street. So that for me is a death of an era. And this isn't the first time this has happened. Because I remember there was a time long ago, where before I had graying hair.
Okay.
Where there was like 4 or 5 record stores on my high street. There was Sundown Records, there was Virgin Records, there was HMV, there was another couple of record stores. You could buy CDs, you could buy cassettes, you could buy VHS, you could buy DVDs, all that stuff. It's all gone. All of it is gone. You can't buy CDs in my town, and now you can't buy games in the high street in my town anymore. It's all gone. It's all just Greg's now. You can buy sausage rolls, you can buy Subway, you can buy McDonald's, but you can't buy games anymore. And Sports Direct does suck. But it's a shame. It's the end of an era. We're witnessing it. And I remember I'm gonna be old again now, Rand, because I remember when Half-Life 2 came out and you had to install Steam. People weren't happy about that, right?
Yeah, they weren't.
They were not happy about that. But now look at it. Everyone loves Steam now.
Yep.
Steam sales are great. There's a Steam sale on right now. Haven't bought anything yet, but there's a Steam sale on right now. And every time like I open my computer, it's like, oh wow. I'm gonna check out the Steam sale and buy a bunch of games I'm never gonna play again because they all go down to $5. So it's just the end of an era it's coming to, and I can't even remember what the original discussion was now. But I'm just all nostalgic.
It was
now.
about discs,
I'm all
but
nostalgic. Yeah.
We
I'm
have
nostalgic now, Rand.
We have Gaming Forte, my buddy. He says, "Thanks, Rand. I was truly upset about no Xbox 2 yesterday." Yeah, like you were really truly upset, Forte. Come on. I spent 7 hours in the airport with the failed hope of a 5-hour podcast for my homies. My love is now fractured. I need restitution for this. Look, I apologize to everybody that needed their Xbox 2 on Friday to help out with.
It's all Rand's fault.
Well, it's just, family's here, bro. Everybody always says family comes first. Couldn't do the show yesterday. And you know what? We're doing the show now, and Gaz probably is going to hate us forever. Because we started at the same exact time as Go Live. We couldn't go an hour before because, Jez couldn't do it. So we probably just lost more friends. Gaz and Asa probably now don't like us anymore. Right? But...
Well, Gaz, it's all Rand's fault, so hate him.
I said let's do the show Monday, and Jez was like, no, let's do it Saturday. I was like, oh, all right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for anybody that missed us on Friday. It's, it's just, we should be back on Friday because my family leaves on Thursday. So we should be good for Fridays again. But it is what it is.
What are you talking about? I'm going drinking next Friday, bro.
No, you're not. You're going drinking because you're going to owe me $100 because the injunction won't be given. Gunstar, our buddy. Jim salt mining deep fat frying Ryan looks like an upside down parsnip. Oh man,
wow,
deep fat frying harsh. Ryan. Okay,
deep fat frying Ryan.
Adam says,
"Do you think Jim Ryan's got an air fryer?"
Oh, I'm sure he does. Game Pass is a double-edged sword, but people are bitter since other subscription services have been producing more trash than making quality stuff. Game Pass stat says, thank you both for always keeping the Xbox conversation alive. Hoping for some good news in the coming weeks. Let's cross our fingers. Thank you. Carol the Gamer says, well, under the law, the FTC has 5 days to appeal the judge's decision. But like Rand, I'm not a lawyer, so I could be wrong. I believe that is true. I think they do have 5 days to appeal the decision. But usually in these cases, if they lose the injunction, most times, if not all times, I think then they just drop the appeal. They don't appeal and they drop the case. Because there's a hypothetical situation at work here, okay? I was trying to explain this to Jez. Let's say the judge doesn't grant the injunction and Microsoft decides to close, right? The FTC doesn't appeal. But they still have that court case. They still have their court case in August or whatever. But the deal's closed. If the FTC would win their court case, however long it would take, essentially, I believe this to be true. I could be wrong. But if they were to win that court case and Microsoft and ABK had closed already, Microsoft would have to basically sell off ABK then. They would have to sell it to somebody.
And there's no way they'd be able to get what they're paying for it. So this could be a tactical blunder to the order of billions, tens of billions of dollars, because there's no way they'll be able to sell it for 60 billion or 69 billion or whatever they're paying for it. They'll have to sell it at a substantial loss, and it could be like, well over $10 billion of losses, and then they wind up $10 billion down and ABK-less. And at that point, you really putting Xbox in a very dangerous place. So I would hope that they've thought all of this shit through.
Well, the thing is, they can't do any more discovery, so the information that they would have is all the ready information that they would have from the trial with the judge or whatever. But like I said, I don't know about the ins and outs. Already someone says that they would have to go to federal court after that. So maybe there's a different scenario that's run.
I kind of feel like this is less about Microsoft now. This is more about the FTC's ego and saving face. I think they'll take it all the way. I think that if the judge does not grant the injunction, I think they will appeal, and I think they'll go all the way.
You think they'll appeal?
I think they will.
Well, they have 5 days to appeal.
They'll appeal. They'll take it all the way, and they'll spend all the tax dollars, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to them. What does it matter to them? They don't care. And we've already seen that Lena Khan is just ideological, and that's her deal. It's all about ideology, saving face, putting a mark, making a mark, and all that stuff. There's no logic involved here. It's all ideological. On that basis, I think they will go for appeal.
If she doesn't grant the injunction and the FTC appeals, how quickly is the next trial? How quickly does the appeal go through?
Well, exactly. Because
that would obviously go. Yeah. Would Xbox be like, all right, you can because that would go past the closing date? Would they have to renegotiate, or would they just close it even if there is an appeal?
Well, that's something we need.
And who appeals it? Is it a different judge? How fast does that happen? Do you go through all the same stuff that we went through? I don't know anything about that. I don't know if people in chat know.
We need a lawyer. We need false patents in it.
We need Hogue Law. I'm just saying, if they appeal, what's the process of that situation?
Yeah.
Because there's always a chance.
It's going to be a messy board.
Bobby Kotick could just be like, give me that $3 billion. I'm good. I'm walking away. Give me that $3 billion. Diablo's doing gangbusters. Overwatch 2 really isn't, but we got COD coming out this year. They might think, hey, we're at a good point. How much does their stock price drop if they do leave? I don't know.
Activision have had a massive dud this week. I don't know if you saw this, Rand. You might have missed this completely.
What?
Do you know what I'm talking about?
What?
Activision released a game the last couple of weeks, and it's absolutely been a massive flop.
What game's that?
Been a flop.
Oh, Crash Team?
Crash.
Yeah, nobody cared about that game. Nobody. I mean,
well, it debuted on Twitch to about 15 viewers, which means Activision has put absolutely no marketing behind that whatsoever. I have actually seen an ad for Crash Team Rumble on my Samsung TV on the dashboard, but that's the only place I've seen any advertising for it. They've done no influencer marketing at all. They haven't approached any Twitch streamers and be like, play this for a couple of days and we'll give you some Prime energy drinks or whatever they're called. They've they've done none of that. They've just basically sent it out to die, and die it has. But they don't care. They're all over Blizzard.
Can I just tell you that I no matter what happened, I think that game was dead on arrival. And who actually wants a Crash fighting game? Nobody.
Oh, don't say that to Crash YouTubers, man.
Are there actual Crash YouTubers out there?
Oh yes. I found out all about this when I was leaking Project Lava, as it used to be called. But yes, there's a very passionate Crash fan base, much I suppose like the Banjo fan base.
Well, I guess that's Crash game is. See, the thing is that game was like $30 or something. Who's buying that? Who's buying that multiplayer beat 'em up game?
I thought it was free to play.
No, it's not free to play. It's $30.
God.
It's like a $30 with also a version that's $40. Who's buying that in this day and age? That game needed Game Pass or being free to play. But even still, even if the game was free to play, who's actually going to be playing it? The world doesn't need a Crash Bandicoot 4v4 brawler. So I'm not surprised nobody cares. Right? People are playing Diablo. People are playing a Final Fantasy. People are playing all their other games. Nobody cares about Crash like that.
Do you want to know something else that's been happening in the Activision world right now?
What?
Diablo has been cannibalizing World of Warcraft.
Oh, has it
been? Through the World of Warcraft API, we can see how many dungeon runs have been happening this season, and it's 1 million less than the same time last season. So potentially there are tens of thousands, and those are dungeon sessions, not players. So there's like potentially tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands less players in World of Warcraft, almost definitely because of Diablo right now. So I don't know why that game was sent out to die, man. Crash was sent out to die.
I'm sure it was. We have Radimus Cisco, member for 24 months. Hey guys, reminder to everyone to have a somewhat balanced diet. Random comment because I ate so badly little yesterday that I didn't feel good this morning. Yeah, it's important to eat healthy, for sure. Let's see, we got some more of these. We have let's see. Krobu says Jez has gone from 5% to 7% to 50-50 on deal being completed, but next week he'll be in the streets with placard demanding deal gets done. Winky. Mr. Too Opinionated. They need more Japanese presence. Home of Sonic. That they do. My name is Mud. What are the chances of Microsoft making big Bethesda games 1 year timed exclusive to help appease Pete Hines and others at Bethesda? Well, according to an email, apparently Phil made the decision to make every Bethesda game exclusive in November of 2021, Jez, or something? Is this true?
Yeah. Well, that's what the stuff said.
And that's what Phil when he said didn't really have a recollection of that. When he basically said it under oath, like, I don't really remember. But it came out, it was like in November, where he's like, Phil made the decision, every game's exclusive. Like, wow. Like, even existing IPs or whatever. And it was like, yeah. Which.
Well, the thing, they need exclusives, man. They need it. That's what everyone was telling them. Where's the exclusives? They got the exclusives. And, I can't really fault that decision, to be honest. So, like, the whole Bethesda team, they've shored up the exclusives. And then, like, when it comes to other games and other platforms, and, you can't make COD exclusive. I've been saying this since day zero. You cannot make that game exclusive. It's a ritual.
Jim
you
Ryan
cannot make
would,
that
though.
game exclusive.
Jim Ryan would.
Jim Ryan can, because PlayStation's PlayStation. But Xbox cannot make that game exclusive.
Jim Ryan wouldn't even say that under oath, though, Jez.
Wouldn't say what?
He wouldn't say that under oath.
Say what?
About when Microsoft asked him, do you think it would be better if Microsoft kept Activision games on PlayStation? And Ryan said, yes, I do. Because there's a whole email chain that he and Phil had, where then all of a sudden, Jim Ryan was like, I don't like this deal. I want it blocked now. Because essentially, I don't know if you read it, like Jim Ryan wanted everything. He wanted Bethesda games. He wanted all the Activision games. Like, he was trying to leverage his platform. He wanted it all. And Phil was like, no, you're just going to get the older Activision games. Because there was even mention like how Overwatch 2 wasn't on the list. but it was like, whatever. And then all of a sudden Ryan was like, I don't like this deal. We want it blocked. So the Microsoft lawyer asked him, do you think it would be better if Microsoft kept Activision games on PlayStation? To which Ryan said, yes, I do. And then the lawyer says, so you do believe it's in Microsoft's best interest to make Activision games available on multiple platforms, getting to the point of the idea of Microsoft not pulling the game from PlayStation, right? So it's in Microsoft's best interest, to which Ryan says, no, I don't agree with that, right? So then the lawyer says, so if you were running Xbox, would you recommend making Call of Duty and other Activision games exclusive to Xbox and PC? And Ryan says, that's a hypothetical question that I don't wish to answer. And Microsoft says, so you don't get to answer? And Ryan says, I don't have enough knowledge to answer that question. So
That's so funny.
He says, first, it would be better if Microsoft kept their games on PlayStation, which of course he wants. And then disagrees that it's in their best interest to keep Activision games available on multiple platforms. And then asked if he was running Xbox, would you recommend keeping the games exclusive? And he wouldn't answer that. Because he's going to say, yeah, they should be exclusive. And
publicly stated position.
Contradicting his publicly stated stances, all that sort of stuff, right? Yeah, so it's like, not surprised he was like, well, I don't know all the whatever. But it's like, yeah, like PlayStation, he would be like, yeah, keep it exclusive. Right? Like, because the entire FTC whole thing was basically like, Sony would be harmed if you removed it. But it's like, we're not removing it. We've said from the beginning that's going to be on PlayStation. He's like, well, you can't believe them. They have financial incentives. Like even, the Economist or whatever, they trot out there being like, it would be, they would have all these interests or financial reasons to do so and blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't know, bro. Like it is.
It's tiring. It's tiring, bro.
Yeah. Let's see. What else? We have Zatanna saying, what about Warner Brothers? Fighting studio, family games, PC and console, mobile, I don't know. DC is even crashing. Maybe they could grab that.
Oh, no.
I did see Phil mention something about that, one of the emails about WBIP. But, I mean, we know at one point they were interested in Warner Brothers. That was before Bethesda, right?
I don't know. I know that Warner Brothers was trying to sell.
Yeah. Hey,
but,
you can take your victory lap, by the way.
Oh.
Because Microsoft wanted Bungie, and didn't you say repeatedly that they were
Yeah.
talking with Bungie, even though the Bungie CEO would consistently deny it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did say that was an old comment of mine, or I never put it in the leak on Windows Central, but I did talk. I'm pretty sure I either talked about it on the podcast or talked about it on Twitter or something.
Oh, we talked about it.
Yeah, and then the Bungie CEO was like, "Nah, this ain't true." I was like, "Bro, why you got to do me like that, bro?" And then the court case vindicated me. Thank you, court case.
Yeah, vindicated you and also IO Interactive and your Project Dragon leak. So how do you feel? Do you still think that's true? I mean, it seems that they're still working on Project Fantasy, which is Project Dragon, or at least we assume. Is that still an exclusive, or has something changed in the 2 years since?
I honestly don't have any up-to-date information about that. At one point, it seems like Project Dragon was definitely in development exclusively for Xbox, but now they've changed the code name and they put it out there. They put it out there under a different code name, which is Project Fantasy now. So I'm thinking like either Microsoft backed out of publishing that game and they changed the code name for that reason, or Microsoft is still publishing that game, but they put it out there because they want to ramp up recruiting. It could go either way. I mean, we just have to wait and see what happens at this point.
I mean, we know that Microsoft was very interested in acquiring IO Interactive.
Yeah, that's true.
They were on the short list, and I would love for Microsoft and them to work really closely. It was very funny reading all like the pros and cons. Like one of the cons was like, well, they didn't work well with Square Enix. They're difficult to manage and stuff. If you're IO Interactive and you're Sega and you see the stuff written about you, like, what do you think? Are you like, man, we were Xbox really wanted us? Like, how would you feel, like, reading about yourself in that regard? You know, like
It
seeing.
must be weird, I mean, one of the things I know about like Microsoft is that they keep dossiers on journalists and influencers.
Really?
Yes,
So,
they do. They
is there a dossier about me?
There's a dossier about you. There's a dossier
There's
about
no
me.
way there's a dossier about Bland Althor. By the way, thank you guys for the whole Bland thing. I'm surprised you didn't bring it up. You know how many people messaged me and said, like, do you really not season your like? I even had my brother and his wife, because we talked about it on we mentioned it even on Twitter, where she's like, no, I make sure his food's seasoned. Do you know how badly I've been hurt by this? Jez, this is all your fault.
You do it to yourself, bro.
How? How do I do it to myself?
Because you don't season your food, bro.
Bro, I got a hamburger last night.
I actually thought of you today.
Did you?
I went to my uncle's. I visited my uncle. First time I seen him in a year or something, with my cousins and stuff like that. My uncle had cooked like a sort of a spread for the family, and like he was saying like, oh, I marinated this chicken in this garlic paprika rub for like a whole day, and I was literally just thinking in my head, oh god, Rand wouldn't like this. It's got seasoning on it.
How do you? I mean, that's not true. I'm not saying I wouldn't try it. No, it's not. This is
true.
Lies being told right now about me.
There was so much garlic in the food today. I was thinking, man, Rand wouldn't like all this flavor. Too much flavor in this place for Rand.
No. You see, you misunderstand. Like, if I go over to eat at somebody's place, I totally would eat it. I'm just like, when I make it myself, I don't necessarily do that, right? And sometimes I'll pre-season it when I cook it, so it's all in there. Like, this whole idea that, like, oh, Rand, doesn't, like, that's not true. Okay, it's not true at all. And I want it to stop. I want people to stop calling me Bland Althor. Put some respect on my name, okay, guys? Seriously. I mean, even last night, I had a rodeo burger from Patillo's, which is like 2 hamburgers and some onion rings and red onions, and it had barbecue sauce on it, bro. That's seasoning, right? See?
I guess, Rand.
I mean, I don't know. Just be nicer to me, okay? Achievement.
You make it hard, man. You make it hard.
He says, do y'all see the Thirst Suitors trailer? On the surface, doesn't look like my type of game, but it also looks like it's doing a lot. Check it out. I've not seen that trailer. Okay. Thirst Suitors.
Thirst Suitors?
Yeah, Thirst Suitors.
I don't know that game, bro.
I don't know that game either.
Did you find Joshua in chat said we missed the super chat? Did you find the super chat?
I mean I have it. I got all of them here. Joshua says, "How is Jez finding the ROG Ally? I'm loving mine."
Yeah, I love it, man. I use it way more than I expected. Even though like I have my Xbox here, sometimes I just like I whip out in bed because either there's a heat wave and the Xbox makes the room really hot, but the Asus ROG Ally doesn't. Last night I was playing with Mr. Mike dude who's on our Discord and who's on Twitter, and I bust out for a couple of nightmare dungeons with him in the middle of the night.
We almost have 1,000 people in the Discord, by the way.
Do we?
I thought I saw a post by one of the mods that we had like 900 or something, and they're looking for a couple extra mods or something.
Oh wow. Well,
how many mods are how many people are on the Windows Central Discord?
Less than that.
We're more popular than
honestly,
Windows Central.
I ain't been pushing that Discord. To be honest, it's kind of like, well, at least like if I push our Discord, I'm getting some kind of benefit out of it. I don't know, but yeah, if you guys want to join our Discord, it's discord.gg/XB2.
Put it in chat.
And
bro.
yeah, it's right there in chat, and I also put it in the description on Spotify, and Rand should be putting it in the description on YouTube, but I bet he doesn't.
I don't. I don't think I have been.
Yeah, we should take that shit more seriously, man, because it's in a world where Twitter doesn't survive.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we're gonna be straight over there onto Discord, the sunny shores of Discord. Discord's And Microsoft wanted to buy Discord at one point. Do you remember that whole
I
drama?
remember. Yeah, I remember all that. Yeah.
I kind of wish they'd have got that, but they
So
probably would have screwed it up. To
you
be
are
honest.
loving the Rogue Ally though, huh?
I love it. Yeah, the ROG Ally is so nice. There is, however, Rand, a bit of drama with it right now.
Really?
I will say, because there's a manufacturing there's a major design flaw with it that people have started to uncover as we head into the warm summer months. The SD card slot is about a millimeter away from the main vent. So when that thing's in turbo mode and you're running Cyberpunk at 60 frames per second or whatever, that thing gets pretty hot. And if you're running like an SD card right next to that vent, some people have reported that the SD card is sort of melted. So if you do get one, yeah,
sort
don't
of melted,
put an
huh?
SD. Yeah, sort of melted. So if you do get an Asus ROG Ally, maybe don't put an SD card in it for the time being, while we try to learn some more information. Jeff Gerstmann was tweeting about his SD card breaking in his Asus ROG Ally. So as soon as I saw those reports, I whipped my bloody SD card right out of that thing. I was like, okay, well, that's enough SD card for the time being. But other than that, it's been amazing. Screen's great, power's amazing. Like, I can't believe how much power is in that device. I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Remake on it recently. Yes, I know. Why don't you play Persona? Blah 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 blah. Yes, damn great device. I love it.
Yeah. So the poll's been up for an hour, Jez. Do you think the judge will grant the injunction? And what do you think it's at? We have basically 1,100 votes.
I'm gonna guess that most people think it's gonna go through, or it's
we have 66% of 1,100 people say no. ABK will be coming home. The judge will not grant the injunction. 21% say I'm 50-50. And 12% say yes, the deal will be blocked. So
it's more than I thought.
Yeah.
But maybe there's more pessimistic people out there than I thought, man. I don't know.
We have Alpaw. He says, "Sorry, you're both wrong. Microsoft buys distressed assets. Embrace the future. They ain't buying Embracer. They ain't nothing worth buying. They ain't nothing worth buying Embracer for. Like, there's maybe like 4 studios that are worth it in IP. Like, they own all these studios. They're not worth it. They're not worth the money. I'm sorry. I don't even know if it's worth even cutting a deal to like, oh, Game Pass. Like, 'cause a lot of those companies probably even going to be around anymore. Sure, is it worth maybe to get Gearbox and Borderlands? Probably. Is it worth getting?
They should buy Crystal.
Worth bidding Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal? Absolutely. Considering you're already working with them, yeah. And maybe there's, Saber Interactive might be worth it for all the studios that they have and support and stuff. But the vast majority of those studios, absolutely not. No. Xbox has enough under their belt right now. Matt Booty is running 15 studios or 16 studios, whatever it is. And we already talk about Halo and how they ran that into the ground. Like Jez was concerned. He's basically saying to me, he's like, I don't want Xbox to get Blizzard. I'm like, why? He's like, they'll ruin it like they ruined 343. I'm like, oh my God.
I was trolling.
I was like, bro, but they're keeping it basically independent. And he's like, I don't care. They'll release more Redfall-like games. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, I knew Jez was trolling at that point. But it's like, you already have 15 studios. You have Bethesda and they're 8. So you have 23 now. If you do get ABK, that's another 10? So you'd be 33, right? You don't need all of Embracer. You maybe just need a couple. Get Crystal Dynamics and Eidos. If you can deal with Randy Pitchford, get Gearbox, maybe.
I don't think they'll deal with Randy Pitchford.
Yeah, probably not. Saber Interactive might be a good choice, right?
I honestly think after, does Embracer own any mobile studios? Because I really think now they've got ABK, they really need to start looking at building their Genshin Impact response. They really do. The amount of money that I can't remember the name. Is it Hoyo or something like that? Hoyo. The amount of money that company's making is absolutely out of this world. They absolutely need an answer to Genshin Impact because that game is defining gaming for an entire generation right now, and Microsoft doesn't have an answer to it. I mean, I suppose that they have Minecraft still, which Minecraft's still pretty big, but Oh, it's still very, very big. It's still one of the biggest games in the world, but like it's a game that isn't sort of globally accessible in the same way. Like you can play it on mobile, but I would argue that it's not the best experience. Whereas Genshin Impact on mobile is completely solid. It feels like it was designed for mobile, and it translates so well to PC with a controller. The kind of game Microsoft wants to make at the end of the day. I would like after ABK, I would pivot hard into finding that mobile studio that can make those kind of
Well, I mean, it
experiences.
kind of came out that they almost bought or were trying to get. And I know I'm going to say this wrong. Zigna, whatever.
Zynga, Zigna, I
Yeah, and
can
there
never
were
remember
some
either.
mobile studios on the like final acquisition list that
Were
Microsoft
they
was
looking
looking
at
at.
Were they looking at NetEase, or am I going crazy?
That could have been on there. I don't have the
I can't remember.
stuff like right in front of me, but there definitely
NetEase
were
would be the
some
one to go.
mobile stuff on there because they clearly needed to get it. But that's why ABK, when that ABK happened, it was like screw Sega, screw these other mobile things. Like ABK gives us everything we need. Gives us King, one of the biggest mobile publishers out there. Gives us Blizzard and all their wonderful PC IPs that they also bring to console. You get like
And their
we
mobile
know
games.
how much Microsoft wants to grow in PC because they basically have nothing on PC, right? That's why it's like, oh, console may be tapped out, but we got ways to go on PC. It's like, yeah, because you basically have nothing there. No wonder, right? And then
Yeah.
like you get Call of Duty, you put it on Game Pass and drive stuff there. Like it made the most sense. Sure, you probably overpaid at $70 billion or whatever it is, but nothing else on there. Like some of those other choices might give you one thing, some might give you a couple. None of them were give you everything like ABK did, and then the value of it. Like nothing is going to give you Call of Duty. Nothing is going to give you the pedigree of Blizzard, and none of them were going to be like King. It was like the
And
best.
nothing is going to give them Heroes of the Storm, right?
Nobody cares about Heroes of the Storm.
Come on, man. Some people care.
Yeah, I'm sure some people do care. Mr. Two Opinion says Blade, Spawn, or wait on prototype. I mean, a Blade, yeah, a Blade game could be cool. So could a Spawn game. Prototype, if they get ABK, they could bring that back as like a third person sort of game. Yeah. He also says, or have Raven make an X-Men Legends on the level of Diablo 4. The problem is, I think Raven is all in on Warzone. And I don't know if you saw, but they shut down the original Warzone, Jez. And now it's just Warzone
Yeah.
2. But like,
Very, very mixed reactions about this.
yeah, but like Warzone 2 is not really doing well. Like a lot of people don't like it. So I would imagine they need to like come up with like a better Warzone map or something. I don't know. I know one of the hopes is that okay, if Xbox gets ABK, maybe they can take some of those studios like Raven and High Moon Studios and a couple of the other ones like Beanox or Toys for Bob and have them go and make their own games. Like have Toys for Bob make a Banjo game, have Raven go make Singularity 2, or have Beanox do something else. But I don't know. I mean, that's what I hope, but Call of Duty is a machine and it needs all those developers for a reason, especially if you still want to do a yearly release, which maybe they don't. But I mean, that's also a lot of money you're giving up every single year if you don't have a new release. But it's also
But
probably giving up a
there's
lot of
another
revenue
aspect to this.
if you're putting them in Game Pass, and that's why Kotick doesn't like Game Pass. And he wants that $70 retail price. He doesn't want doesn't want the subscription service stuff.
He also wants a captive audience, and this
True.
is something that this is incentive to take it away from the annual release, because Microsoft still has a duty. We're talking about like how much Microsoft needs exclusives and then needs content for Game Pass, but they also need to keep their partners happy. And I'm sure EA would love it if every other year, sorry, they could have a quarter 3 or 4 without a Call of Duty,
Sure.
because it would give Battlefield some breathing space, improving competition. And I think one of the reasons Call of Duty's got stagnant a little bit is because Battlefield completely shit the bed. So so Battlefield, like every year was gonna, because I'm a Battlefield guy. Or I am a Battlefield guy through and through. you know. And every like I remember Battlefield 4, like everyone Battlefield community was like, this is the one, going to be the one that topples COD. Obviously, it never happens, you know. And then like Battlefield V came out, Battlefield 5, and it was just like, this ain't it, guys. This ain't it. You know, and it wasn't terrible. I still enjoy Battlefield 5, but then 2042, awful. They did everything wrong they could possibly do. They did wrong with Battlefield 2042, and basically gave Call of Duty a free roam of the whole sort of, you know, that sort of segment of the shooting fan base or whatever. And I'm sure like if Call of Duty gave their partners some breathing room, we could see like innovation in that space, you know. Like a lot of people are saying that X Defiant from Ubisoft is actually pretty decent, you know, even though like loads of people were trolling it because it's like Ubisoft, oh, it's Ubisoft, you know, trying again, throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. But I think like games like X Defiant and like or in the next Battlefield, they will struggle if they go up against Call of Duty. Even Titanfall, you know, which was, you know, from the team that made Call of Duty, even that, and it was like that was the most Call of Duty feeling competitor I felt, because it was made by the remnants of Infinity Ward. Even that couldn't stand up to it. Yeah, I'm just kind of rambling now, but I think like there is an incentive there to, you know, improve relations with your developer partners, your third parties, by taking Call of Duty out of the equation every now and then, and also promoting innovation, longer dev cycles, do new stuff, and bring the quality up, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And there's loads of great things they could do with Activision as when it's part of a platform rather than being a separate publisher. But
yeah,
we won't find out whether or not it'll come to pass until next week, probably.
Danny says they need ABK just so Toys for Bob can make Banjo. Big for Man says, what do you guys think of Hoag's opinion? He said it's basically a toss-up, 50-50, slightly leaning towards the injunction. He said that no matter how well Microsoft's case is, you can never count out the judge or just people. Well, I mean, 50-50.
That's what I said.
It's coin flip, you know. So
Hoag Law's on my side. Nice.
Well, Hoag Law also, I think Hoag also said that FTC would never take this thing to trial, and they did. If I'm not mistaken. So the whole thing is nobody knows, you know. That's it. It's like it could go Xbox's way or it could go FTC's way. If it goes the FTC's way, you're going to see a lot of, either way, no matter what happens, there's going to be a lot of crying, bitching, and screaming on Twitter, right? If the FTC gets the injunction, oh, bro, Xbox fans, they're going to be pissed on social media, right? And then you're going to have to well, actually, it doesn't even matter because you can't even read Twitter anymore, right? But like PlayStation,
maybe Elon's killing Twitter because he knows what kind of shitstorm it's going to be like next week.
Because essentially, you know, the PlayStation fans would be making fun of Xbox fans all day, all night. Because you definitely know they're going to be Xbox fans that at President Biden or at FTC and, you know, talk about how bad it is or whatever. Especially if Microsoft does abandon it. But if the FTC doesn't get the injunction and Xbox closes the deal, well, the Xbox fans will be riding high and they'll be going after PlayStation fans. And it definitely will, no matter what happens, you're going to have a lot of screaming, crying, bitching, complaining, cheering. It'll be crazy if we can read it all.
What I'm intrigued about is what's Xbox's contingency plan. And I know they have one. I know they have a contingency plan. I know they're thinking about, okay, well, there's a real chance this could get blocked. You know, what is our plan B? What is Xbox's plan B? And you know plan B probably going to be more acquisitions. Again, go through the whole process again. But I do generally think we'll see a more aggressive Xbox than we've seen before. I think we'll see an Xbox ready to take no prisoners, because I know that Xbox is not going to take this line down. You know, I know it.
And what happens if they do get ABK then? Do they become complacent, or what are you trying to say about that? Because you're saying that to become super aggressive if they don't get it, but what if they do?
Well, this move is super aggressive in of itself, but
sure.
I think Microsoft will be sort of conciliatory, at least in the interim. They'll be like, they'll be trying to do everything they can to smooth things out with Sony. I would have thought, because they don't want to lose Call of Duty on PlayStation. That's a nightmare scenario. They've spent $70 billion. And they can't put Call of Duty on PlayStation, because even if they did make it exclusive to Xbox, or it became de facto exclusive to Xbox because Sony wouldn't let them put it on there or something, they can't make Xbox consoles fast enough to capitalize on that right now. And I think, like, by the time they could make Xbox consoles fast enough to capitalize on it, people might have already moved on. They might have moved on to other games.
But Jez, you're talking about a scenario that wouldn't even happen until 2025, because the game's still like the arrangement's still there for this Call of Duty game, right? So you're talking about
it'd be a massive amount of disruption and upheaval if they wouldn't let Call of Duty on.
Sure,
PlayStation.
But I just can't imagine a scenario where ABK deal goes through and then Jim Ryan doesn't and prevents Call of Duty from releasing on PlayStation to the point where it is exclusive.
But I don't think Xbox is gonna wield it like a bludgeon.
No, I'm not saying they would, but it's like, hey, we want to bring we have, here's the contract, all this sort of stuff. It doesn't matter that PlayStation wants Starfield and all these other games that they were trying to angle for, or even some of the other Activision games, right? It's like, this Call of Duty, take it or leave it. Because that point, who's got the leverage? Well, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
In that situation, I don't know who has the leverage. They would own ABK, but they're also saying, like, economically, the deal, we would lose so much money if it was exclusive that maybe PlayStation has the leverage. And if PlayStation is like...
PlayStation definitely has the leverage, and you only need to look at Minecraft to realize that. Sony dictates what Microsoft does with Minecraft, their own game, because of how much money they make on PlayStation.
Yeah, but do they make more money on Switch or more money on PlayStation or more money on mobile?
I mean, it's hard to tell.
Or more money on PC.
For sure. And I bet you some of the redacted content pertains to Minecraft on PlayStation. I would bet money on that. But I don't know. It's all speculative, baby.
I mean, I don't know. If Jim wanted to play hardball, he'd be like, we're not letting you put Call of Duty on PlayStation until you agree to our terms. Because that's a large part. Like, okay, but even still, that'd be a big gamble, because that's a significant portion of PlayStation's revenue every single year, and you're just telling them, like, no. I don't know who would blink first. Like, who would blink first? Chat, who do you think would blink first in this hypothetical scenario, which probably would never happen, where Xbox has Activision, has Call of Duty? But PlayStation's like, you cannot put it here unless we get all the other Activision games too, going to the future. And Xbox is like, no, you only get Call of Duty. Who blinks first? Who holds the leverage? Microsoft by owning Call of Duty, wanting it to be everywhere to make money, or PlayStation knowing that they could financially hurt Xbox by not allowing the game on their platform by significantly. They could essentially, if they wouldn't allow it, then Call of Duty, maybe something else becomes popular. I don't know. Who has the leverage in that situation? Or would Jim immediately get removed by removed as CEO and someone else put in place that would get Call of Duty on PlayStation? That'd be interesting to think about. I don't know. iSiler says, how are the Ferrari payments going these days? Also, did you see the FTC leaks of Scalebound? There are no FTC leaks of Scalebound. Thank God.
Oh, man. I love it. People are getting so creative.
They are very creative.
Scalebound into the conversation.
And Rufflemutt says, how about they stop buying and developing more games? Yeah, the people buying the exclusives are the ones making the exclusives. Which, by what I mean is, bro, they're not related in any way. They can buy as many people as they want. The developers are still going to develop games. That's why, they showed off Fable and South of Midnight and Avowed and all those other games at this year's E3. How did they do that when they're trying to acquire ABK, you ask? I don't know, because the two teams that are doing both of those are totally separate. You could be buying all these acquisitions, buying all these teams, and still have the people to make them. That's like when people complain about the controllers. It's like, stop announcing controllers and announce games. It's like, yeah, it's kind of lame. They have all these controllers, but, the teams that make the controllers are completely different with a different budget from the people that make the games. So, whatever. It is what it is. Infinite Umbra comes through, says, what's good, my Chi-Town brother Rand and bean enthusiast Jez? Use this towards some Goya packets to season your chicken, Rand. Oh, man, even you have to get on this, Umbra? Come on. Really? Leaky Hump says, Matt is ruthless like more. We need to apologize. Apologize to who? Matt Booty? My problem, or I wouldn't even say I have a problem with Matt Booty. My thing with Matt Booty was, can Matt Booty elevate the studios under his watch to become bigger and better? Right? That was only my, I don't doubt his veracity or his aggressiveness. I was just like, is Ninja Theory going to be a better studio under Xbox than Matt Booty? Is Obsidian? Is Compulsion? Right? And like we've seen with, what happened with Halo Infinite, even though Halo Infinite was, solid, they didn't really have a plan. And it's like, well, some people got to bear some people have to bear that. And I think some of that falls on Matt Booty. Some of that falls on Phil, right? We'll know a lot better about how these studios operate under Matt once like Hellblade and all these other games start coming out. Then he'd be like, okay, Matt Booty's actually good at his job, which is, I only care. That's all I really cared about is like, how good are these games going to be? Because it's going to come under you, right? I never really doubted if he was like aggressive. I was just like, I want to know if you actually can make these games better than they would have been if they were still independent. Like, do you have what it takes?
People are still calling out your unseasoned chicken, bro.
Yeah, I know. It'll probably be a thing forever. It's like, whatever. Let me enjoy what I enjoy.
No.
Let me enjoy
that chicken, bro.
Jaguar Gaming Network, member for 32 months. Love you guys. Love you too. And I love my unseasoned chicken. What are you going to do about it, huh? My unseasoned steak. You ain't going to do nothing.
Oh, man. Man.
There was also a little bit of, I wouldn't say surprising news, but apparently IGN had like an expose about Perfect Dark, Jez. And they basically said about how really nothing got done during the time when the initiative was partnered with Certain Affinity. And then eventually they brought in the Crystal Dynamics and it's doing better now, but it's still 2 to 3 years away, which I wasn't expecting Perfect Dark to 2025 anyways. So
yeah, neither was I. And I don't think Microsoft was either.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it sucks that they spent all that time and, they had a lot of like some people they hired were expecting a different way to work and it's not what happened, and that the game could still release episodically, which is a rumor we had heard years ago. Remember that Perfect Dark was going to release episodically?
I think I might have some information on that actually.
Oh, really? What about it?
Just bear with me. I just need to
just bear with me as you play Diablo. Jeez, come on.
Look, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to slay these demons. I got to kill Uber Lilith or Sanctuary will be destroyed. Right, okay, I'm teleporting out. So, do I have some information on this, or am I talking out of my arse? I might be talking out of my arse. But I've been trying to verify some of I'm trying to verify some of the information in that article and stuff. And I think there might, and I ain't 100% sure about this, so don't take it as a fact, but I think that might be confusing. I think when someone said to them that it's episodic, I think they might be confusing it to mean episodic, like, or maybe we're confusing what IGN means by this. But when they say episodic, they're not I don't know if it's IGN or whether it's their sources or whatever. But when they say episodic, they don't mean it's going to launch in parts like Life is Strange. I've heard it's going to be episodic in the context of Alan Wake 1 or Quantum Break, where it's kind of like it's told in that episodic format, but it will be a full and complete game. So do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know, Alan Wake has its the missions are kind of episodes. You know, that's the way I took to understand episodic, but not 100% sure. So the jury's out on that. So it might be episodic in the context of level 1, you know, episode 1, whatever, you know, and then level 2 is essentially episode 2, and it's sort of told in that cinematic kind of way that Remedy does. That's how I took it to mean. I did not take it to mean Life is Strange. They're going to release it in parts, but we'll see. I'm not 100% sure on that right now, so we will see, friendos.
We will definitely.
I'm trying to find out for you. I'm trying, bro. Doing my best.
You need to do that work.
Yeah, doing the work, bro. I'm doing that work. But maybe that's what IGN meant as well. You know, I haven't read the article, and maybe people just took it to mean something else. But yeah, I think it is going to launch as a full and complete, standardized, normal kind of game.
Yeah, you know, like games don't really release episodically anymore.
No, they don't.
I mean, even Life is Strange went to like all the episodes immediately. I mean, Tell Me Why was like an episode a week for 3 weeks. I believe the Expanse, which has 5 episodes, I think is coming out like once again, like one every week. I think if we were doing an episode, it has to be like that, because I remember back in like when Walking Dead came out, it was like it took forever for all the episodes to finally be out. And then a whole bunch of developers went to that format, and obviously it didn't pan out for whatever reason. So I just can't imagine Perfect Dark releasing in that way, where it's like episode 1, January 2025, episode 2, July of 2025, right? Where I could totally see what you're saying, where it's like each level or whatever is an episode, like Alan Wake, where it has like a beginning and an end. And then it comes up with like previously on Perfect Dark, right? And then you play something new. That's how I took it. Or like maybe there's 5 episodes and they just have like, hey, by the way, like each week there's going to be a new, you know, 3-hour episode of Perfect Dark for the next 4 weeks or something, right?
Yeah.
They could do something like that, but I don't know. I think it's just going to be a regular game that might be broken up like Alan Wake 2 or Alan Wake. Do you see the stuff with Alan Wake 2 where you can play through the whole game? There's like 2 campaigns, the one with the FBI agent and the one with Alan. And you can play through the entire game with the FBI agent and not switch until Alan Wake until you want to, or you can switch whenever you want. You could play 1 hour with the FBI lady and then switch to Alan and then play Alan for 5 hours and then switch back.
That's really interesting.
Did you see that? Like, there's no, like, the game doesn't force you to switch. I think it's like you decide when you want to switch.
I wonder how that's going to work narratively. That's an interesting thing. It could be terrible or it could be amazing. I guess the proof will be in the pudding, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that would work, because even with Last of Us Part 2, which had a dual narrative structure, right, there was at some point, so Ellie was doing all of her stuff, and at some point she finally met up with Abby, and then it was like stuff was going down, but then it was like, oh, now it's Abby's turn, so you're playing all what you do with Abby, and then you finally get back to that point where the story intersects, the characters intersect, and then it happened, but then it was kind of over, and then you went your own paths again until it intersected again. And I wonder if they would do the similar thing where maybe she never finds Alan Wake, or, well, no, she clearly does, because there's a part in the trailer where he's like, what's your name? Where you would just play and play it completely out, and then you would play from Alan Wake's perspective to see how everything was happening, kind of like a Last of Us 2 thing, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be, I haven't decided how I would do it, honestly. Where it's like, do I play through the entire thing as the FBI lady first and then play through Alan Wake's second? Or do I play through Alan Wake's? Or do I play a couple hours and then switch and then play a couple hours and try to like get them all lined up or whatever. It's a very interesting way of doing a game, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Supernova says, why was Pete upset when all the Bethesda games exclusive while ABK not? $7 billion for what then? See, Jez thinks that's just him as a PR person wanting to get, doesn't want like to send Todd out there and get a bunch of questions about why is Starfield exclusive and not Call of Duty and not have a prepared answer. At least that's what Jez's line of thinking was on that. Yeah. To me, I thought it came off as more as like, what makes them so special? Why can't... I don't know. I could be wrong too, but that was my initial read on it. Do you find it weird reading the emails from like Phil and them? Like it's kind of like just like, oh, here's this email about Phil about Sega, about something we never were supposed to see and we're only seeing it because of this deal. Does it feel weird reading it like that?
Well, it feels weird in a way, but also not, because I email those dudes as well sometimes.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, but they're not going to tell you about Sega though.
No, of course not. But it's like seeing like the email style, you know. I was like, yep, that's a Phil email.
That's Phil email indeed, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. We kind of went through this with the Epic Games trial, kind of, to some degree, where we just got to see the inner guts of the game business community, because it's a small community, you know. People know each other and all that kind of stuff. And it's all just business at the end of the day. But, you know, this one's getting a bit nasty, you know. There's a lot of money on the line at the end of the day. You know, for a lot of Activision employees, this is retirement. This is going to be their retirement, you know. And it's not just people at Kotick's level. There's going to be like lower level employees who are probably like got a lot of stock from working there for a very long time, and like this exit, it would be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to them. So like, yeah, Bobby's going to be getting millions, billions, whatever he gets. But like, there's going to be thousands of employees potentially who are in line for like hundreds of thousands of dollars. The kind of life-changing amount of money that you could retire on, you know, that you could buy like a nicer house on for your family and all that kind of stuff. Maybe not even hundreds of thousands, maybe just tens of thousands, and maybe not even that, maybe just thousands. But there's a lot of lives that are going to be changed by this sale, you know, for anyone who's got Activision shares or a decent amount of them, you know. And Sony's screwing with that. So there's going to be a lot of negativity from a lot of people, I would have thought. A lot of people with a lot of money, a lot of power, if this deal doesn't go through. So it is interesting seeing how some of these conversations play out. I thought the emails that were more interesting was seeing Matt Booty's correspondence and seeing some of the internal Microsoft communications. Because Phil to Jim Ryan, those are very professional. A very professional tone, very, very sort of, you know, almost legalese in reproduction, but like some of the more informal communique between Matt Booty and some of the other team members, I thought that was very, very interesting. You know, seeing how they like, I always got the impression, I didn't really feel like Matt Booty had this competitive edge to him. He does not present like that, I think.
Well, it's because
I thought that was very, very
but
interesting.
The thing is, he's not on Twitter. Not that it matters anymore, because nobody can use Twitter, right?
Well,
and he doesn't do a lot of interviews, so it's sometimes tough to get a read on somebody who doesn't put their personal thoughts out there, and you don't spend a lot of time with, right? Yeah. So yeah, for a lot of people, getting an insight on Matt Booty's line of thinking was huge, because we just don't know. You know, he doesn't talk much, doesn't speak that often.
I've met him at a couple of shows. He's a really, really nice guy. You know, and even like meeting him in real life, I didn't get that impression that he had that sort of competitive streak. But after like seeing Phil and some of the, you know, the commentary from, you know, Sarah Bond, like talking publicly about the deal, and you know, and Lulu and all this stuff. They're all super competitive people. They all want to win. They all want Xbox to be the best it can be. Like everyone at Xbox really, really wants that. And I think like there sometimes, occasionally, there's been this narrative that Xbox is complacent. I think I put this out there that because Microsoft's bread and butter isn't gaming, it's cloud, that Microsoft is complacent about how hard they want to take this and stuff. But clearly that's just not the case. And like they're literally spending $70 billion almost to prove that point. So I think like the fact that we're seeing this sort of more competitive Xbox emerge after years of underfunding, being below Windows, and then COVID holding everything up, it's kind of encouraging, you know, in a weird way, that Microsoft isn't all kumbaya about it. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm really going to be intrigued as well how they respond if it does get blocked. That's going to be very interesting.
It'll say a lot. It definitely would say a lot, because we know that there's let's say hypothetically the injunction happens and they abandon the deal, right? We know that the Call of Duty marketing deal needs to be needs someone, right?
Yeah.
Do you think they're like, all right, let's go get the Call of Duty marketing deal? Do you think like Sony would have burned their bridges with Bobby and Activision?
No, it's just money.
Just money at the end of the day. And who would provide the most?
Yeah.
Did
Microsoft
you see the thing?
Outbid them, but will they?
Where it's like, hey, what if like Xbox, you know, maybe they keep it everywhere, but Xbox got like a super awesome Christmas character. And
yeah,
like they're literally arguing about why this deal shouldn't happen because Xbox might get secret Christmas skins in a thing that PlayStation's been doing for years. That's part of the thing where I was listening to it and I'm like, Beth, please speak up right now. Please say that this is something that PlayStation's been doing for like 5 or 6 years. And they didn't say anything. And I was just like, really? Is that your argument? It'll be bad for who? PlayStation consumers because they couldn't get the Christmas suit? The Santa skin in Call of Duty? Is that really what we're going for? I thought it was pretty telling, like I mentioned earlier, where she was like, well, who's harmed by this immediately? And like the FTC dude's like, well, immediately, the day of closing, they won't be able to talk to them about PlayStation 6. That was the first thing that came to the dude's mind, was that PlayStation's harmed. Not consumers of anything. It's just literally, they can't, you can't talk about a console that's coming out in 5 years? Like, I don't know, bro. Like, I know being 50-50 on this all, because who knows what she's thinking and whatever,
this is why, this is my line of thinking, right? And this isn't just pessimism right now. And it's because there is so many people, right? There is so many people in this equation whose common sense internal monologue suggests to them Call of Duty is the market leader, and that's the way it is. Call of Duty is the market leader, and that's the way it is. You saw it all through the CMA trial. You know, it was like Call of Duty is the market leader, and that's the way it is. One of the things it was almost like there was an element of surprise that Microsoft was as small as they are in gaming with the CMA, right? Because that in their minds, PlayStation is the plucky young upstart who managed to beat a behemoth, and they deserve their market leadership position. And like when the fact that they didn't even question this thought process, which is, you know, what if PlayStation gamers can't get the Christmas skin? It's that narrative that PlayStation consumers are somehow the de facto consumers. You know, the CMA had this internal monologue the whole way through. They were doing their court case, and we've seen it from the FTC. You know, it's almost like their mentality is, but of course Sony should be the best, and we should protect them. You know, and that's like, because that's just the way it's always been, you know. I kind of feel like if they can push that sort of idea on the judge, even subliminally, you know, that Microsoft's this big nasty corporation that's trying to muscle in on Sony's territory or Sony's turf or something, that's kind of like where I'm thinking, you know, because at the end of the day, facts don't really, the facts might inform your opinion, but it's kind of like your feelings that decide how you make decisions a lot of the time. And all they have to do is sow that feeling that PlayStation deserves to be the winner for this to get blocked, And that clearly the FTC managed to push that home with the CMA, because the CMA did not arrive at these opinions by themselves. They just parroting everything the CMA came up with. They never had any intention of allowing the Xbox deal to go through. They were just trying to figure out what is the best way for us to frame it to block the deal, because their feeling is that Sony deserves to be the market leader. That is their feeling. The fact that they've been defending Sony despite the fact that they're market leader, that's because they've decided they deserve to be the market leader. Microsoft doesn't deserve to have a place in the industry at all. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And can they make if they can arrive at that sort of emotional mentality, then surely the judge can as well. Judges aren't super infallible and all that kind of stuff. They're obviously susceptible to emotional thinking as well. No matter who they are at the end of the day. We'll see. But again, that might just be my emotional thinking. My emotional thinking that the system doesn't work because I've been burned by it so many times.
Yeah.
I don't know.
When do you think we'll find out, Jez?
I've seen people say Wednesday.
You think Wednesday, after the 4th, the holiday weekend? I don't know. Is she even going to be working this weekend? She may not. She may just enjoy. What is this weekend? It's the July 4th weekend.
It's traitor weekend.
Yes, it's when we overthrow that crappy British government.
That awesome. Nah, the British government isn't awesome.
Yeah, so no, it's July 4th weekend. July 4th is on a Tuesday.
Are you celebrating?
I mean, what, with fireworks and stuff? Nah.
I don't know. What do you do?
Nothing.
For July 4th?
Maybe have some barbecue, get some, some hamburgers and some hot dogs and watch the fireworks, You're
gonna have unseasoned hamburgers.
Stop it with this blasphemy. No, the hamburgers will be seasoned, of course.
Do you call them steamed hams?
No, we don't call them steamed hams, Seymour. No.
Delicious steamed hams. I thought we were having steamed clams. Oh man, I love that bit. Yeah. Steamed hams, Rand's favorite dish.
If you guys are enjoying the show, hit the like button. Subscribe. Hit the subscribe button too, please.
No, but Rand, listen.
If you hit the subscribe button, you can call me Blandel Thor all you want. Go ahead, as long as you subscribe.
You can't have fried food because you have to fry it in oil. That kind of makes it seasoned. So you'd have to have steamed hams because that's just water.
Water.
Water. Yeah.
Is this water? Water.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Water.
One thing I am looking forward to this being all completely over either way. Either ABK comes
just
home
look to the future,
or it's just they walk away.
It's kind of weird because imagine this deal never happened.
But you know what? Actually, you know what? I might miss it just because we won't be able to talk about our buddy Jim Ryan that much anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, in his wonderful quotes, how many times are we going to be able to say lying, crying, flying, hiding, Jim, dance move, saving Private Ryan again? Right? Because it's not like he's out there very much talking about stuff.
No, he's not.
So we need to savor this. This might be one of the last times.
Oh dear, that is true.
So, yeah, hit the subscribe button. Call me Blando Thor all you want. We will be talking about Patreon questions now. As we approach the 3-hour mark here. So you can also join the Patreon at patreon.com/XB2. And we should have a show sometime this week. Don't know what we're going to talk about. I'm sure it'll be some stuff. And then, yeah, we got Xbox 2+1 sometime later in the month. We need to come up with a really cool guest for you guys. But, yeah, appreciate everyone who joins the Patreon. And if you're just there to support us, thank you. If you want You can ask these questions. We got some good ones here, Jez. We got about 24 of them. You ready?
Yes.
All right, we got VJ Palmer saying, "What is bigger, the scope of Starfield or Special Nick's ego?" What a question to start it off with. I'm gonna say Special Nick's ego is way bigger than Starfield's.
Oh man.
I mean,
Special Nick's hard drive is way bigger than Starfield.
yes.
He just bought the 2 terabyte.
Do you need a 2 terabyte hard drive for just Fortnite and Rocket League? I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh, poor Nick.
And he was like, "Why are you guys always assholes to me?" It's like, bro, that's what we do. We're friends. We roast each other. You see the people roasted me in the chat about being bland Thor, and you know how I don't season my food. Come on now. But I mean, like, even from your own mouth, you don't really play a lot of games. Do you need 2 terabytes of storage? Probably not. You know?
How much storage do you have?
1 terabyte. I mean, I got the whatever the internal is plus the 1 terabyte extension.
Fair enough.
Chimera Chasm says, "What class did you both pick in Diablo 4?" I went with the sorcerer, chain lightning. Sorcerer. Jez?
Chain lightning sorcerer.
What'd you go with?
The sorcerer. I went with necromancer for the main game, but I did the review build as a bear druid. But I think I'm gonna do season 1 as a necromancer again.
Bro, I can't believe you have to start a new character for that stuff. What absolute garbage.
No, that's how the game's worked since forever.
That's how the game's worked. Okay. Yeah.
It's good. It's a good thing.
Why is it a good thing? Why is it a good thing that I have to stop using my character that I...
You don't have to stop using your character.
But to get any of the battle pass stuff I do, and any of the seasonal stuff I do.
Yeah, but dude, you don't do the campaign when you do the seasonal stuff. You complete the campaign, right?
Mm-hmm.
You make a new character. You don't have to do the campaign again. You skip the whole campaign.
Sure,
right?
Sure, okay, fair enough. I mean, yeah, I get it.
And the reason it start over is because the game is leaderboard based.
Okay.
You can't have a ladder. You can't have a leaderboard if everyone's starting at different points, right? You don't lose your character. So the character that you've got now, you can take that into the story expansion when that drops, right? Take that into the expansion, but the new season is an opportunity to try a new character, new spec, all that kind of stuff. Don't have to do the campaign again. Just go back on the grind and do the ladder, bro. And you can just play on the Eternal Realm as much as you want. So that's just the way it is, bro. It's a leaderboard.
Sorry,
it's
bro.
It's a race. It's a race, bro. Diablo's a racing game. It's like Forza.
No, it's not.
It's Diablo season is like a race. It's like Forza, bro. It's Forza. This Diablo is basically Forza.
Sorry, I just when someone's like, "Oh, by the way, here's the new season. Season 1's coming, but by the way, you got to start a brand new character." I'm like, "The fuck?" Like,
yes,
hell,
bro.
I am. No way in hell am I starting a new character.
Well, that's because you're bad. You're bad at the game.
That's because the game's over when the campaign credits roll.
No, bro. No.
No more time to just click constantly. Like, I saw your video. I knew all you were doing was just clicking, running around in a circle from the butcher. Doesn't matter. You're pressing buttons or you're holding the button.
It takes skill, bro. It's not like the games you play. What do you play?
Oh, it takes skill. Okay.
I don't even know what you play. What do you even play?
Right now, I'm playing Final Fantasy 16, bro.
That takes no skill. It plays itself. That game is a movie.
I mean, you can have it play itself.
I mean, even on normal difficulty, it plays itself, bro.
I wouldn't.
Like, it's five minutes, and then it's a cutscene. 5 minutes. I've seen it, man. It's like Azura's Wrath. Do you remember that game?
Azura's Wrath was amazing.
Yeah, but it was a movie.
Yeah,
it's a movie. Nah, I'm just trolling. Oh, speaking of movies, I just want to go a slight tangent here. Apparently, now this is something I wasn't sure about, because do you remember when I leaked Metal Gear Solid 3 and the classic collection, right?
Yes, I remember.
I leaked in that it was Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3, and that it wasn't Metal Gear Solid 4. But I think I didn't know that they were doing it in multiple volumes.
Yeah, Volume 1 and Volume 2, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So I just assumed, because I only knew about Volume 1. So I think I just assumed, oh, well, they're not doing Metal Gear Solid 4 because they can't, because it's a PlayStation 3. But now there's a new leak, and
Well,
I think,
IGN's claiming that Volume 2 is Metal Gear Solid 4, 5, and Peace Walker.
well, that's what I'm saying. There was a leak in the website source code, I believe, that showed that, yeah, Metal Gear Solid 4, 5, and Peace Walker is gonna be Volume 2.
That would
So,
be, I mean, that would be huge because that would
speaking of movies,
lift Metal Gear Solid 4 off of the PlayStation 3 and be able to be played anywhere. Like I've never played Metal Gear Solid 4.
I will be completely honest with you. I think Metal Gear Solid 4 is really miserably underrated.
Yeah, miserably
I think
underrated.
it's miserably underrated. Like it's an incredible experience. It's an emotional experience. There's not a lot of gameplay.
Here's the thing I'm worried about, okay? About it. Is we know with Metal Gear 1, 2, and 3 that there are no improvements, right? Like
Yes.
this is just straight ports.
Yes.
So I'm kind of worried about Metal Gear Solid 4, you know,
Being broken.
well not being broken, but just kind of like, oh, here's PS3 game,
Janky.
you know, janky, doesn't run well, doesn't look good, you know.
That would be par for the course with Konami, and also we've seen that happen recently with the Grand Theft Auto
Yes,
trilogy.
we did. And there's
Yeah,
rumors
so-
of a Red Dead Redemption game got rated in Korea. I don't know. You saw this? What could it be?
I did.
Are we
mm,
are we getting a
remake.
remake or
I hope so. Damn good game.
you know, are we I don't know what's going to happen. Is it a Nintendo Switch version that they're rating?
I hope not.
I mean, who here, chat, if they remade Red Dead Redemption and it was like 60 frames on console or whatever, would you get it again? I mean, bro, they have easy
I would
money.
definitely buy. I would easily
I don't
buy that
understand why
again.
Rockstar doesn't do that. It's like easy money. Where's the Red Dead Redemption 2 update that have it running 60 frames on new gen? People would buy that again and play it again. Where's the update for Red Dead Redemption? Like, they're just sitting on a gold mine.
I think they've probably just got all hands on deck with
Yeah, but then you farm it out. You don't do it yourself. You farm it out to somebody. Granted, who they farmed it out to for the Grand Theft Auto trilogy probably weren't the best.
I think I think they are really precious about the source code for that game.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that makes GTA is the way it feels, and I think they don't want to outsource it. You know, I don't know. That's just a hypothetical, but yeah, I agree. Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 should get the next gen treatment. Like remember Red Dead 1 when you I'm not going to say it for people who haven't played it, but there's a moment in Red Dead 1 where you're traveling and it just the music kicks in and it just feels incredible. I never experienced that kind of sense of freedom with a game before.
Yeah.
You know, because Skyrim had horses and stuff, but there's always kind of janky and kind of funny. You know, the horse getting stuck on the cliff and stuff like that. But that was just so cinematic. I felt like I was in a Quentin Tarantino movie. Just so damn cool. I just love that game. I just love that whole franchise. In fact, I'm going to install Red Dead Redemption 2 right now. Oh no. More games in the backlog again.
More games in the backlog.
Do another playthrough.
Elijah Vasquez says, are we going to talk about how Final Fantasy was going to come to Xbox and was taken off due to Sony? I feel this invalidates Jim Ryan's testimony more than it already is, and it seems that the media is mainly focusing on how Starfield was taken off of PlayStation. Jez, did you see this?
I completely missed this. So, yeah, if you've got the source of that, send it to me, and I'll write an article about it because I honestly missed that. So,
I did see something where it did come up that somebody said that Final Fantasy 16 was coming to Xbox and PlayStation, and then it wasn't. It was just coming to PlayStation. That basically Sony partially foreclosed Xbox, since that's the terms we're using now with exclusives. Which, by the way, Satya says he doesn't like exclusives.
Yep, I'm not surprised.
But you know, he's got to. Basically, you need them because the market leader has basically kind of set the market that way, and they're a low player in that market, and in that market they demand exclusives. So it's basically, you know, Kind of is what it is.
But of course, Satya. I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Of course, yeah.
Of course, Satya would say that because Microsoft's forte is the service delivery and the hardware, and not necessarily the content historically, or at least recently historically. So of course he's going to say that. You know, that plays to Microsoft's strength, and you know, even now, like across the whole business, their strength is cross-platform. Their strength is business. Their strength is the service. And then their literal mission statement is empower others to do more, you know. So having exclusives goes against their mission statement. So of course they don't like that. But like, yeah, I don't know. It is a contradictory business for Microsoft. But he's completely right. They have to do it, and they have to keep doing it, or I'm going to be really pissed at them.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. Does anybody know an article about where it is about Final Fantasy 16 was supposed to come to Xbox?
Just send it on the Discord, discord.gg/XB2.
Because I remember seeing something, but about that, but I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't paying the most attention this week, and I'm not seeing any articles that mention it. I'm sorting by past week. Oh, here's one. 7 days ago. That can't be right. 7 days ago would be before the trial, right? Phil Spencer revealed Sony paid to ensure Final Fantasy 16 skips Xbox.
That's not to do with the trial then, or what? I don't know. We'll look it up later. But that's compelling and interesting.
Let's see. Is anybody in chat now?
Really. I don't know.
I don't see anything. Yeah, I don't know. I just see stuff that leads to tweets.
Maybe you can send us the source later.
Yeah. Let's see what else. We got Silas Rand. After hearing the Xbox 2 episode with Gaz, I noticed you have two distinct hosting styles. With Gaz, you basically just drove the show, letting Gaz riff. With Jez, it's much more paternal. Quote, Jez, we can hear your keyboard clicks. Jez, stop playing and pay attention. Jez, are you drinking too much? Jez, don't leak anything. What style do you prefer and why? Oh, Jez, what do you think about this?
I don't know. Are you parental?
No, I mean, no. This. I don't know. I feel like I know Jez's style, and our back and forth is just supernatural. So how we do the show is how we do the show.
With you always talk to different friends differently. So,
well, it's not so much that. It's like,
well, I mean, we barely structure this shit, man. We have we don't have a script. We don't even have talking points, for God's sake. Like, I've been on podcasts that like fully script everything out, or at least like have like a list of talking points and like sections, and they're like, okay, we're going to talk about this for 5 minutes, this for 5 minutes, this for 5 minutes. We don't do any of that shit. So it's basically you just listening to two friends talking at the end of the day.
Well, like, I think it's more like me and Jez are super comfortable with one another, and I know Jez can. If we talk about something, Jez gonna talk about a topic for a bit, then I could talk about stuff where you're not really sure how other people are going to tell. Like, so with Gaz, it was just like I talked to Gaz enough where I was like, okay, I can, kind of just drive the conversation, and Gaz will chime in where he's gonna want us to chime in and talk about some stuff. You didn't mention like when we had Cognito and Miles on, where I became more of a host and less of a person with an opinion. Because I don't even really view myself as like a host. I feel like when I'm with Jez, I'm not even really hosting it. I just like, oh, here's this thing, and I intro the subject matter for the listeners so they can get like the full breadth of like the lead up to it. And it's just two people with opinions, two friends going back and forth that might disagree. Like Jez thinks that the injunction is going to happen. I don't. And we'll just talk about why.
50-50.
But when I have like, here's Miles and here's Cognito and here's Colt, I more am like Snowbike Mike in a way, where it's about trying to get their opinions. So I'll be like, what do you think about this? How about this? What about that? And I'm less inclined to give my own opinion about something. It's more about like what they think. So I hosted a different way. I don't really view this as hosting a show. Versus like what I would do with Gaz or what I would do with a whole group of people. So it's just like Umbra says, we just flow, which is he tries to emulate in his podcast, which is just it's just me and Jez. It's just a discussion, which is why I like the 2-person format. When you add more people, you don't know how long things are going to go. You don't know segments might overstay their. I mean, I know segments might overstay their welcome on here, but I don't know. It's just a different way of doing things.
Like this one.
Yeah. Shut up. Hey, it was a question, and I've never seen anybody bring that up before. Shut up, Jez.
I'm joking. That was just.
Shut up, Jez.
That was just a really good opportunity to throw.
Whatever. Achievement. If Xbox and PlayStation signed a 10-year agreement for Activision games, do you think Hexen would be a part of that? Or do you think putting publishing under Bethesda would be a way around it, especially if someone like it is doing it?
Bethesda under Microsoft, they publish Hexen on PC already. So I'm thinking that like the rights to Hexen publishing on console must be Activision. I would have thought that. Honestly speaking, I think their deal for Hexen's already done, because I don't think Phil would have pulled that T-shirt was so specific.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Phil had to go out of his way to find a Hexen T-shirt. I highly doubt Phil had a Hexen T-shirt just lying around.
That looked like it was freshly pressed. Didn't it?
It was freshly pressed. That was a blatant tease for its next game. I'm sorry. I would bet money on that. So I think like the deal for Hexen's already been done. I think the game's already in development. I don't have any evidence, but that was so deliberate. Like Phil's bloody shelf. That was as deliberate as the shelf. So I think Hexen's a done deal, and we'll see it. I don't know in the next.
So you think its next game could be Hexen?
Yeah, I do.
And essentially, they would have struck a deal with Activision, and it would be published by Bethesda. Because how do the rights work for that? Like Activision owns the IP, but Bethesda owns the publishing or something.
Bethesda owns the publishing on PC, I think, because they publish it on PC. They published it on the Bethesda launcher and all that shit. But honestly, like I don't know for sure, but like they've acquired the rights to make that game. I would bet money on that. I bet money on that.
So I guess it would depend on whatever agreement they would include. Clearly, Phil doesn't want to include more games than he needs to, because that's why Jim was upset and suddenly was like, we need the deal blocked, because Jim was trying to use the strength of his platform to get the Bethesda games and other Activision games into this deal, right? Which, to be fair, I mean, not to be fair, but like, did you see him when brought up Redfall and Starfield? He was like, well, I didn't like it. Like, I didn't like it, but it's not... I mean, he even said it's not anti-competitive, that Starfield was exclusive, or even Redfall. He just didn't like it, right? Yeah. Which, I don't know. I guess you could make the same argument about Final Fantasy 16, where it was like, well, I don't like it, but it's not anti-competitive. I mean, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but at least Jim Ryan just like, no, nothing wrong with Starfield being exclusive.
Yeah.
Which kills a lot of people's talking points or whatever, because Jim didn't even really care. He was just like, I'm not happy about it. Yeah. Jay Foley says, how soon do you guys think ABK games start to appear on Game Pass if they close the deal by July? That's an interesting question. I know isn't there a lot of work that goes into getting games prepped for Game Pass? Like, there was a lot of work to get the Bethesda games in there. They'd probably get as many as they could in. Who knows about the contractual stuff? Like, would they be able to get all the Call of Duties up until last year in? Do some have contracts? Because I just saw Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, I think, is coming to PlayStation Plus. Would that prevent it from going into Game Pass for X amount of months or something? Because when Bethesda games went in, they didn't all go in. It was some time before certain ones like made the jump because of whatever existing contracts were out there. But I could see them closing the deal, and then I could see there being some like blog post maybe a week later about, hey, here's some games coming to Game Pass.
Hmm.
I guess. I mean, because once you close the deal, why not? Right? Why not start doing it? One of the one of
They
the
they um they went pretty hard into Bethesda in Game Pass as soon as the deal closed,
yeah, they did.
didn't they? If I remember
Yeah,
right.
they did. As soon, well, I wouldn't say it was soon as it closed, but that as soon as they had that roundtable, they had a whole bunch of games announced for Game Pass. But it wasn't
Yeah.
like the whole catalog. There was a few that didn't make it, and I think it was because they were tied up on like PlayStation Plus or whatever. But
Yeah.
I could see there being like, say the deal closes, I don't know, let's just say on Monday we see Xbox like drop a, we're closing it, right? I could
Yeah.
see like the 17th or something being like filming a round table. I don't know, because you would figure they would do something similar to what they did with Bethesda, where it's like the round table, they filmed it, and it was like they made the announcement. Do you think they would do something similar for that, Jez? A round table with
I think they
Activision?
would. I don't think they would
You don't think so?
because I think they did the one with Bethesda because Bethesda became exclusive to Xbox. But
True.
I don't think they do the same with I don't think they'll do the same here because um it's a different proposition, you know. I think with regards to this, they're going to let them they'll probably want to preserve the status quo for the interim while court cases and litigation and what plays out, right? So I think they'll keep it low key at least to start with, and then sort of gradually over time, because there's going to be a lot of anxious Call of Duty fans and Overwatch fans and Diablo fans on other platforms thinking like, you know, what's going to happen to my games? And Bethesda, Blizzard and Activision fans is pretty passionate. You know, it's not the same sort of thing with Bethesda, where Bethesda hadn't like released the game for a million years, like Bethesda Softworks, you know, or at least not a beloved one. They had Fallout 76, you know. But yeah, I think they'll keep it low key personally, but we'll see. I could be wrong. Could be wrong again.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you could be right. Lee Sanders says, Jez, I asked a question pre-LA trip in your thread about storage issues with current games and hope you might get something from the bigwigs at Xbox. So my main issue is the current game size compared to the drive size. So 125 gigabyte Starfield is taking up a lot of a 1 terabyte console, and with the fantastic
Mm.
offers in place with Game Pass, uninstalling and reinstalling games is an absolute pain, especially when it's an online game you just want to play quickly with friends. Games like Forza Horizon 4 and 5, Gears, Flight Simulator, Sea of Thieves take up a similar size as Starfield. I'm hoping for a fix sooner rather than later as we ramp up the onslaught of first-party games. I don't think that's going to change, bro. I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think the size of the games is going to get smaller, personally.
No.
I don't know if they'll get significantly bigger. I think maybe they're about as big as you can get. But I do understand it was like, hey, this not only takes a while to download, 125 gigabytes, but also takes up a lot of storage space. I mean, if you're playing a Series S, that's like essentially what, a third of it?
Yeah.
And for one game, that's why they offer 1 terabyte cards or 2 terabyte cards, or why you could just use cloud gaming just to try it out before you download it. But I do feel it's like, hey, I don't know if I really want to play Forza Horizon 5, and then you look at the install and you're like, ugh, I don't know if I want to install this because that's a lot of space, and I might be on a download limit or whatever. But I'm not sure that actually is ever going to be fixed. Do you think? What do you think? I don't know if there's anything to fix there, honestly. I think it's just the game size, right?
Yeah, I think like they do. I think Microsoft and other publishers have started to realize game size is an issue, and Microsoft does have this compression technology, but the adoption has been like almost zero. So like nobody's using it right now, and it really does take adoption to make that happen. But in the short term, I don't think anything's going to change. But I do think that next gen, I think this will be less of an issue because I think Microsoft will go with the standard M2 drive, and the price of storage is one of the few sort of PC components that has come down in price. Um, so I don't think this will be as much as an issue, and I think like storage will get cheaper, and probably like 2 terabyte will be the standard next gen, maybe, or and then we'll start seeing 5 terabyte M2 drives and all that kind of stuff. I think like hard drives are just going to have to get bigger to compensate, and I think that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah. Ralph Wiggum. Hey guys, hope you have an amazing podcast as always. Question: if Sega is acquired, what old IP would you like it to be worked on Xbox? Help. Mine would be a total remake of Shenmue with newer graphics.
I've never played that. Have you ever played that?
No, I never played Shenmue. No, not really interested in playing it either.
No. Total remake.
I don't know. I don't know if I really have any. I'd have to look at like Sega's IPs to really get a sense.
Sega specifically?
Yes, that's Sega. I mean, there's Jet Set Radio, but I mean, I don't
know if Sega actually owns this IP or if they just published it. But I really loved Gunstar Heroes as a kid, and I would love to see that franchise come back in some capacity. Also, like Dynamite Heady. I don't know if the many people in chat remember that game, but man, I loved that game. It was like a platformer where you could equip different heads and then headbutt people to death. It was ridiculous. It was incredible. I honestly just want to see them make better use of Sonic. Like Sonic Frontiers felt like a step in the right direction, but it's still so far below the quality bar that Sonic really needs to be at. Like when you go and compare Sonic as a modern Sonic game to a modern Mario game, it's night and day. It's like Nintendo. I mean Sega. Are you even trying? You know, and I know there might be Sonic fans who just don't like that opinion, but the sales numbers speak for themselves. You know. The Sonic Frontiers sold better than usual modern Sonics, but there's so much more they should do with that franchise. And yeah, I would hope that if Microsoft or someone got involved there, they'd be like, let us, give you a blank check to really bring this franchise into the modern era. We'll see.
I would say, just looking at their list of IPs they own, I would say Condemned. There could be their horror IP that Microsoft's looking for. I don't know who would make it because Monolith made them, but I think Monolith's owned by WB now. But,
Condemned is a franchise that definitely needs to come back.
Yeah.
And people in chat are saying Treasure made Dynamite Heady and Gunstar Heroes, not Sega. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Mechlord in the super chat says FTC is out of money and lawyers, costs money to pursue lawsuits. Big Nose Con has been in front of Congress begging for money. If the injunction is denied, FTC will move on.
Maybe.
And I think I've read something where like they're at a vertical merger has not been denied or blocked in the last like 40 years or something. So history is also on the side. But I don't know. I don't know what happened there.
We live in weird times, though, bro.
Logan Meyer says, "Howdy, y'all. Who's the next target after ABK is finalized, one way or the other?" I would see they probably would have to go for individual developers, whether it's Certain Affinity or whether it's trying to maybe see what the deal is with Crystal Dynamics and Embracer over there. But yeah, there's definitely some like a Sobo, like IO Interactive. I think you go for some smaller ones, and then. As much as we all would we want Sega immediately, I do think Sega would be a target, but I think Xbox would probably want some time to breathe and not have to do this all again really so soon. And then, because ABK is going to need a lot of work, because I think Bobby's going to be gone right away. I don't know who's going to run them. And even Chris Deering in his chat and his email with Jim Ryan said that Microsoft is going to face a huge managerial nightmare because so many of Activision's higher up are just going to cash out because of the sale. And then you're just going to be left with a nightmare. So it might be you know what? They might just have to hit the pause button on big publisher acquisition like Sega, and go after some smaller ones because they're going to be consumed with Sega for some time.
I think it would be smart of them to go for like smaller publishers that are actually really high quality and with a bit of money could get up to a new level. 11-bit fits that bill for me, and Paradox fits that bill for me. And Paradox is, I don't know, I just love Paradox at the end of the day.
Right.
And I think Paradox really fits Microsoft's wheelhouse and stuff. But yeah, I don't think we'll see another Sega for the short term. Another big publisher like that. But could be wrong. Microsoft could be just like, you know what, screw it, let's just do it again. Do it again.
Yeah, Tooper says, Jez, I read this week about ChatGPT also being able to write gaming guides. Thinking about how that impacts sites like Windows Central, does the site somehow get monetized from these searches and summaries that will be pulled from the web? Pulled from web
Nope.
info?
We get nothing right now, and there is actually lawsuits. There's a class action lawsuit taking place right now from people from some smaller companies who are like, we've been, ripped off about this. But it's difficult because how do you prove that your content specifically was used to train ChatGPT? It's like very hard, and presumably Microsoft would be subpoenaed, or ChatGPT would be subpoenaed for that information. But does ChatGPT even keep records of this stuff? If I was ChatGPT, if I was smart, I'd be like, well, we won't keep records of what we use to train. We'll just say, oh, it just read the internet, So it's very complicated, and I think like at the end of the day, the real issue with ChatGPT like stuff stealing from publishers like us is that if they put us out of business, AI will get dumber because they'll have nothing to rip off. So there needs to be a symbiotic relationship, and I think eventually they will start paying. They will start paying people for their content. But I don't know. That's just optimism. But the one thing I do know is that ChatGPT will never be able to replicate my opinion. So hopefully you guys stick around for that.
Stay High wants to know, Jez, the deck or the ally?
This is tough. I would honestly say the ally. There's downsides to both. Like the downside in the ally is that the battery life isn't great, and honestly, it's a little janky. The software is really janky, and it still feels early, and also the SD card slot doesn't work properly. According to some reports, but I just prefer the freedom of Windows. You don't have to jump through hoops to get Xbox Game Pass. You don't have to jump through hoops to get cloud gaming and all that kind of stuff. Whereas if you do go outside the Steam ecosystem, Steam Deck's an absolute pain in the ass. So if you're deeply invested and interested in the Steam ecosystem, just get a Steam Deck. But if you're more interested in the Windows as a whole ecosystem, like whether you're going on Battle.net or Xbox Game Pass or Epic Game Store even, you should get an Ally. But I think you should get Ally. Just runs games better as well, at the end of the day.
All right, Sauce Mods Patreon says, since I'm new to the Patreon, I wanted to ask a good question with a lot of thought. Rand, if you had to play Pokemon 3 hours a day to be able to eat something other than mayonnaise, would you play the 3 hours of Pokemon a day to be able to eat whatever you want, or would you just eat the mayo? Oh, jeez, these questions.
Wow, that's
if I don't play Pokemon, that means I can only eat mayo. Yes. I mean, jeez, 3 hours of Pokemon's a lot a day, though. Like, if you said like an hour, I'd be like, Pokemon. I rough Pokemon for an hour to be like, look, I hate mayonnaise. I mean, you're essentially asking me, do you want to die? Because that's essentially the question you're asking me. Play Pokemon 3 hours a day or eat awful mayonnaise, only mayonnaise. That can't be healthy. That can't be nutritional. So I guess I would have to play the Pokemon. Thanks for killing me.
Rip.
Tharsman says, Jez, I missed asking this a few weeks ago, but how you feeling about a new 2D Sonic?
Oh yeah, like
Sonic Superstars, I think.
Sonic Superstars. Yeah, I'm feeling really good about it. And not only did I get a new 2D Sonic, I got a new 2D Mario recently. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I'm just old fashioned like that. But yeah, it looks pretty good. I think a lot of and this goes beyond just Sonic, but I think a lot of publishers seem to have given up trend chasing. I think they've started to realize, look, with these development timelines, by the time we've chased the trend will be dead. And I think like a lot of these sort of Pokemon Go clones, they've all shut down and been cancelled, and even Niantic's laid off 25% of its workforce right now. So that whole trend is like dead now. And like a Monster Hunter Pokemon Go clone is coming out soon, and that game's going to die really quick because the trend is over. The trend is completely over. So I think like while I think they'll still try and chase some trends with Sonic and stuff like that, like clearly the most recent Sonic was like open world, blah 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 blah. I think they realized that the core fans who were given the money just want to have some nostalgia experience. So it was good to see them hear the fan base. But I really wish they hadn't alienated the Sonic Mania team, because I really love Sonic Mania. I thought Sonic Mania was brilliant. Alas.
Omen says, what upcoming game or franchise are you most excited for ABK to bring to Game Pass? Feel free to speculate on unannounced games. I mean, Call of Duty, because that means I don't have to buy it every year. That'd be for me. Save me some money. Save me $70 a year, essentially.
Do you buy it every year? Because I don't.
Yeah. I mean, somebody buys it. Whether it's me or my game share partner.
Fair enough.
I think he bought Modern Warfare 2 last year. So, yeah.
Fair.
Somebody buys it, and we won't have to anymore. Kraken56. Hey, guys. After the poor redaction, we learned a couple of Sony games that had budgets over $200 million. What Xbox games do you think have budgets that high, either recently released or in development? Thanks. Love listening every week. Probably Halo Infinite, for sure, right?
Halo Infinite's budget was way more than 200 million.
Halo Infinite is probably more than 200 million. I would say Fable's probably getting up there.
Fable's definitely up there.
Fable's got to be up there.
I don't think Gears is up there. I think Gears 6 will be though.
Gears might be up there. Yeah, I could see that. Bethesda Game Studios, like Starfield, probably, right?
Yeah, definitely. I would say probably more than 200 million.
Yeah. Maybe even like, I wonder how much something like Doom Eternal costs. Something like id. Wouldn't it be funny if it
probably costs 200 million?
We'd probably find out Redfall costs 300 million. Wouldn't you just like gasp?
I would probably throw up.
Probably would throw up. Yeah, no, there's definitely probably some games that cost a lot of money. For sure. I doubt something like South of Midnight cost that much, or Avowed, or I could see Perfect Dark costing 200 million when it's all said and done. I could see that.
I think so.
Tricks are for Trey. I thought this FTC crap was supposed to be about us, the consumer. All the FTC did was cry about Sony and mention them like 50 times, and really mention us consumers. What are your thoughts? I agree. I mean, if you listen to any of it, especially the closing arguments, FTC was just defending Sony constantly. It's like that was what, yeah, it was mind-boggling, because it very much seemed like the initial CMA arguments. If you remember when the CMA initially put out their findings, it was all Sony this, PlayStation this, and we're all sitting there like, why are they protecting PlayStation? And then they eventually moved away from that, and then blocked on cloud. This FTC argument felt a lot like the initial CMA stuff, which I think is just Sony. They were just kind of taking everything that's what Sony had told them at face value.
And I think the CMA took what the FTC told them at face value.
And that's what you ended up with, this scenario where people are listening to it, and it's like, why does it seem like you care more about PlayStation and their market position rather than like consumers? Because it very much seems out of place. And even so, where the judge even called them on it. The judge was even like, hey, I don't care about Sony. I care about consumers. Because that's what it really seemed like. It was like, well, Sony, and it was like, stop it. We don't care about Sony. I care about consumers. And people were like, holy shit, thank God. Finally, we get down to it. But yeah, you aren't the only one to feel that way. I even saw Paul Tassi write an article about it.
Yeah.
Radimus Cisco. Hey, Blandel Thor and Phil McJez. Everyone is talking about the FTC versus Microsoft trial, so let's do something else. Both of you find yourself in a tiny island, and the next big boat to get out is going to be there in a month or two. Nothing to explore because it's a tiny bland island, and the locals are super bland. Even for bland, I mean Rand. You don't have any of your usual belongings or internet, but you have more than enough food in a crate full of games and consoles, but no PC. You only have games that neither of you have played before, and there are no games from 2023. What is the first game you guys would play? You could play together or on separate consoles, or alternatively, you can be alone instead of together if it is too difficult to select a game neither has played, but that would probably make it very easy for Jez. Sorry for the unnecessary long exposition, but I just wanted to say bland a few times. Have an awesome day, guys. Edit. Feel kind of bad after what you said live about the nickname Bland, but this was the last time, probably. I'm kind of kidding about the nickname Bland. It's fine. You only have games that neither of you played before, and there are no games from this year. What is the first game you guys would play? Huh.
I would play. Oh, hang on. We can't actually. We can't pick PC. We can only pick consoles.
Yeah, only consoles.
Well, I really want to get into Baldur's Gate.
Okay.
And I've never played it. And Baldur's Gate's on Xbox, the originals. I don't know if they're any good on console, but I'd suffer it. Because, like, CRPGs sometimes, if the controls aren't ported very well, they're kind of lame. But I would suffer it.
What would I play? I mean, maybe I would play... I don't know. Maybe I would play Persona, because that would at least take some time. I would maybe want to.
I think you'd like Persona.
I don't know. It's tough to say like what, because I'm looking at my backlog. But he says you only have games that neither of you have played before, but you've played Persona, which means that wouldn't be there. So at least, yeah, I've never played Baldur's Gate, so at least you'd have that. I'd have to know like which games you haven't played to really determine. But I would say Persona 5 simply because what else am I going to do, I guess? Can't play a game on the internet, I'll play that. Lazar Wolf. Hey guys, I really appreciate how you each approach games differently, with Rand being single focused on newer stuff and Jez bouncing around. I kind of take a hybrid approach, playing new stuff and grinding out old games at the same time. Anyway, Rand, what is the newer game you wish you could make Jez finish? And Jez, what is the most servicey game you wish Rand could get into?
Oh man, I would love it if Rand could get into World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I knew you would say it. I was either thinking it would be that or Diablo.
But the thing about Warcraft though is that it's region restricted, because you can't play with people from America. So I wouldn't be able to play with Rand technically, even if you did get into it. So maybe Diablo, actually, thinking about with that restriction.
What would I get Jez to play? Something newer. You know, I'd get him to play the game that's on screen right now, Plague's Tale Requiem. There we go. Plague's Tale Requiem.
That's in the backlog. I'm about 3 hours into the first one, I think.
Yeah.
I never got around to it.
Mythic Marty, hey gents, I'm hearing and seeing even more positivity around the ROG Ally, and it made me think, maybe instead of a mid-gen refresh like a 1X, Microsoft should gamble and go for the handheld market. I also think it should be an Xbox device and not a Windows device, i.e. uses the Xbox environment and not Windows 10. What do you think? I mean, personally, as someone who really doesn't care about a handheld, I want them to go for mid-gen refresh, but I mean, the answer to this question is, why not both?
Yeah, Microsoft can do both, but the problem is with the Xbox operating system is that it's got too much thermal overhead. So you couldn't put the Xbox, you couldn't put like an Xbox Series S experience into a handheld. You just can't do it. There's too much. It requires a certain system that today's technology just can't do with the cooling and stuff like that. You know, so. And this is what I've been told by Microsoft engineers. I've asked Microsoft engineers why they don't do it, and this is what they've told me. So you'd have to be a Windows-based system, and then you're kind of thinking like, well, Microsoft should just let other people make it, which is what they're doing now. But what Microsoft should do is improve Windows. They should focus on improving Windows for this type of device. And then, like, if OEMs don't make good devices, maybe then they could look at getting into it, because they could You know, they kind of did this with Surface when OEMs were getting killed by Apple in terms of hardware information. Microsoft was like, okay, we need to inspire the OEMs. We came out with Surface. Surface did really well. It was a new form factor, inspired a whole new generation of ultra slim tablet hybrid PCs. And now Microsoft they don't care about Surface anymore because it did its job. Its job was to inspire their Windows OEMs to beautify their devices. Now, like if like all the Asus ROG Ally clones that come out, if they're all really bad, maybe then Microsoft should explore it. But for right now, I think it's fine to just sit back and let other people do it. You know?
Yeah. Tommy, he says, hope everyone had a great week. Are you guys at all worried about Hellblade 2 is going to be a letdown? After all this time and little to no gameplay, loved the first one, but it's starting to feel like this is a Hall of Fame walking sim coming our way. I mean, I wouldn't say that until you have like a developer deep dive, but no. Even if Hellblade 2 is more cinematic than the first one with light on combat, I mean, that's kind of what the game is. I would just judge it. I would judge it based on the merits of the game, like story, presentation, all that sort of stuff. Jez will troll about it being a walking sim, but the game's not coming out till next year. There's still plenty of time to show, the actual game itself. So, we'll see. Bubby K just joined the Patreon. I've been listening since January after finding the show from Jez. You guys are my first introduction to the Xbox community and happy to give my support. Well, thank you. Question: if you could take a vacation for 2 weeks, expenses paid anywhere in the world, where would it be and why? Thanks again. Part of me would want to go to Florida to revisit Walt Disney World. We went on vacation there in 8th grade, and I absolutely loved it. To the point where I've always thought, like, man, I really want to go back to Walt Disney World. But then the other part of me always kind of, like, there's a part of me that wants to go to Vegas. And if you could tell me I could spend 2 weeks in Vegas, have expenses paid, that's a lot of money I could spend. Because you didn't mention, like, gambling or all that stuff. And, like, Hawaii is also another place I really wanted to go. So I would really like...
Where?
Hawaii. Somewhere in Hawaii.
Oh, Hawaii.
Yeah. That. What about you, Jez?
Japan, man.
Japan.
No doubt about it. All expenses paid. I do all of Japan, the whole bloody shebang. Tokyo, Kyoto, do the hiking and all that kind of stuff. I do the whole country, man. I'd live there.
I mean, 2 weeks is a long time, but yeah. Japan for Jez. I guess it depends on for me, but it could be Florida for Walt Disney World, Vegas, or Hawaii. Parker Griffith, at 100k subs, can we please get Jez teaching Blandel Thor how to make a British dish, since Brits don't season anyways, and Rand teaching Jez how to make an American dish? We want this. Love you guys. I mean,
my god,
that'd be something.
We could do an Xbox 2 Ultimate. I'll put my camera in the kitchen and cook something.
Yeah. Yeah, we're almost there. I mean, we're at 95.8, maybe be at 96, depending on what happens, So it's like we're on track, I think, to maybe get it this year, if not early next year, which would be incredible, Chief Gaming 685 says this was likely asked in a previous episode, but earlier in the ABK deal process, Phil Spencer name dropped a few old beloved IPs. If the deal goes through, do you believe Xbox will revive any of the IP from the ABK library, and what IP would you like to see return? I would like to see Singularity return.
Yes. But I kind of feel like maybe Clockwork Revolution is going to scratch some of that itch, I think. I think Singularity's been gone for so long. I really think more than Singularity, I really think Prototype would help Xbox's lineup. Because they could do crazy things with today's tech. And I actually saw a thread about this. I think it was on Reddit, I want to say, where people why did the entire gaming industry just randomly decide to give up on environmental destruction? And during the 360 gen, there was a wave of games with environmental destruction, and it kind of culminated with Crackdown's cloud-powered destruction physics that just didn't pan out, But I'm thinking about games like Mercenaries 2, Red Faction Guerrilla, absolutely love that game. It was so much fun to hop in like one of them space age mechs and just walk through a building. And now you've got like way more processing power. Like, couldn't you do more with destruction physics now? But there's no real games exploring that. And I think like Prototype would be the perfect kind of game to scratch that itch, but also scratch Microsoft's lack of superhero, anti-hero kind of thing. I don't know. It's just a thought. I would revive Prototype.
McLord in Super Chat says, buy 33% of Sega, day one Game Pass marketing all Sega games. A lot of those acquisitions, they turned out to be like Game Pass deals when you actually look at them. Bear Attack says, Sega has fun, modern, retro potential. Altered Beast roguelite, Shinobi, Metroidvania, Echo the Dolphin, walking, swimming simulator, kidding. I mean, they do. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Xbox was interested in them, right?
Yeah.
Elvin says, would love for Microsoft to buy IO, Avalanche, Crystal Dynamic, Atlas, Spiders, the Stalker team, and the guys that make Metro. That's a lot of studios.
Yeah. Didn't Embracer Group buy 4A?
Yes, they did. They did buy 4A.
Oh, that scares the hell out of me, bro.
I mean, we should be getting a new Metro sometime soon, right?
Yeah, but will Embracer Group not just shut down at some point?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe somebody picks them up. Maybe somebody does.
I really do think that Embracer Group's gonna go the way of THQ, where eventually they just fold and then banks asset strip their stuff to try and recoup some of their investment.
Yeah, maybe.
I have no faith in the future of that studio, that brand. None whatsoever. Hope I'm wrong for all the people who work there, but my God.
But you know what? We're approaching the 4-hour mark, so I think it's a good time to end the show. Thank you all for being here. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Before we get out of here, we'll make sure to reiterate that me and Jez have a bet about the injunction. If there is an injunction, if the judge sides with Jez, I owe him $100. If the judge sides with Microsoft and no injunction is given, Jez owes me $100. And I recommend everybody to DM Jez and offer him the same sort of deal as me. See how much money we can get. Because you can tell he doesn't really feel that. He didn't even want to make the bet with me for $100 because he's not that confident. You don't know, right?
I
know, but still.
50-50, bro. 50-50.
But still. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks to Manscaped for sponsoring the show. Make sure to use the code XB2 to get 20% off as well as free shipping, especially their new beard stuff. And Patreon, patreon.com/XB2. We've got an Xbox 2 Ultimate show coming up soon and a lot more cool stuff. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. And we'll be back on Friday. I believe my family is leaving on Thursday, so should be back to like normal schedule. Hopefully, maybe I can get a couple. Hopefully, we don't find out the deal passes until they're gone, so I can make a video and then we can discuss all the stuff. Because if on Wednesday the 5th we get an announcement from Microsoft that the deal is closed, we might have to do like emergency podcast time. You know what I mean?
Which day?
If it like closes on whatever day, like a Wednesday or a Monday or something, that might have to be like emergency podcast. Situation.
Very busy. I'm very busy at the moment. Oh shit, Rand! I just thought.
What?
I might not be able to do the podcast next Friday.
Oh, so am I gonna have to find a co-host?
No. We might have to do it Saturday again.
A Saturday again, bro? We just did 2 Saturdays in a row. We can't keep on doing this to Gaz. He's gonna hate us.
Yeah. Well, I'll make.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But yeah.
I'm going on a secret mission to play a secret game.
Secret mission to play a secret game.
I might be back in time, but I'm not 100%, so we'll have to talk about it.
All right. Well, keep your ears. I mean, I would say follow us on Twitter, but
Oh, Musk has increased the limit to 10,000 tweets a day.
10,000. To what? What about regular people? Is it 10,000 for
like
paid?
4,000 or something?
So it went from
10,000 for paid, yeah.
And so it went from 600 to 4,000?
Yeah, something.
I saw some post where he said like his deal with Google ran out on June 30th and this is the reason why it's happening. Or something. I saw some people posting articles about that. But either way,
and he's just saving face or something.
We'll be back next week. Hopefully I can start making more videos when family goes, but until then, keep it gaming, everybody. Love you. Later.
Rock and roll, baby. Bye.